In the final analysis, you're looking at a guy whose cup truly runneth over.
Tonight on a special edition of 2020.
Bar, what'd you think?
Where's my hero?
We say goodbye to the 41st president.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush.
The video you'll only see here from the ABC archives.
I said, who is this good-looking girl, that beautiful girl over there?
The beloved first couple of the country, spending 73 years together.
And stay fat, stay gray, stay wrinkled. We love you.
Now, the family stories you've never heard about their final days.
He was with her the whole time, and then on the day that she passed away, he was there all day, holding her hand.
Tonight, the political dynasty they would build together.
I kiss you, but your makeup might smear.
The national events that shaped them.
My dog Millie knows more about foreign affairs than these two bozos.
He is yesterday's man.
The two boys were bitter, and we're going to get Clinton, we're going to get revenge. And she said, get over it.
This son of ours is not going to let you down. He's going to go all the way.
The historic events that broke them.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Why should you be elected for 4 more years?
And the legacy they left behind.
He's the last president of the greatest generation.
Here's Amy Robach.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
I've been very blessed when you look around and compared life to others, how lucky we've been. But you must feel responsibility to others. You must believe in serving others. I think that's a fundamental tenet of my life.
George Herbert Walker Bush was really fundamentally a patriot. He believed in America, and he believed in the ideals of America.
Congratulations.
And it didn't matter whether you were a Republican or a Democrat, or a liberal or conservative, he was decent to you. Bush was a throwback to what the old Republican Party used to be.
President Bush's legacy as a human will be one of great decency and devotion to country and family.
Also part of that legacy, his deep bond with his companion of 73 years, former First Lady. At her funeral in April, President Bush was next to her casket, greeting mourners who had come to pay their respects.
It absolutely amazed me. There he sat for hours, shaking hands, because he knew that they wanted to see him. So it was one last act of duty.
After my grandmother passed, my grandfather was back in the hospital the day after.
There is breaking news. Former President George H.W. Bush has now been hospitalized with an infection that has spread to his blood.
I just remember talking with my mom and my family members and just saying, we just need to get him to Maine, because that's really where his heart is.
And that is where he went, to his beloved home in Kennebunkport, Maine.
So when you look out at this scene, what do you see?
I look at the sea, I see the power of the sea. I see the wonders of the sea. I see my boat. I love going in a boat. And I just feel totally relaxed here in Maine, by the coast.
Kennebunkport was his refuge, his sanctuary.
It's the place where he and my grandmother would come every summer. It's just always been a place where our family has come together.
Family means everything to me. I don't know where I'd be in life if I wasn't blessed with a lot of kids.
And not something that we see very often these days. They met at a Christmas dance in Greenwich, Connecticut. My grandmother was wearing her red and green Christmas dress, and my grandfather spotted her.
I said, who is this good-looking girl, that beautiful girl over there? I said, that's Barbara Pierce from Rye, New York. And the rest is history.
Barbara Bush set eyes on 17-year-old George Bush and never looked back. They laughed together all the time. You can look at videos of the two of them just cracking each other up.
Is he still the handsomest man you'd ever seen?
My eyesight's getting bad.
Golly.
These are people who loved each other deeply. And Barbara Bush was a great political partner for George Bush. I think she had a great deal to do with his political ascent.
Coming up next, during that meteoric rise, tragedy strikes.
My grandparents suffered the worst thing that a young couple can endure.
Stay with us.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
He's the last president of the greatest generation.
George Herbert Walker Bush was born in 1924 into a wealthy New England family. His father, Prescott, was a businessman and U.S. Senator from Connecticut.
The Bush family has always been steeped in public service. There's the feeling in the Bush family that you draw on the resources of this country to make money and provide for your family, and then you give back.
I was lucky at birth and had some privilege, but I've tried to put something back. I served my nation in war and stayed right with it.
His mother, Dorothy, instilled the values that Bush would carry throughout his life.
George Bush learned lessons in character at his mother's knee, and first and foremost, he learned humility. His mother used to say to him, "George, don't brag," or if he bragged about an accomplishment on the baseball diamond, she would say, "Well, George, how did the team do?" So she encouraged him to think about the larger community and not just himself.
On the day he graduated high school in 1942, Bush took the unusual path of enlisting in the Navy instead of going to college and became the youngest naval aviator flying combat missions in World War II.
He is really the last of our World War II presidents and saw what the world could do to itself when there were failures of leadership.
This rare film shows Bush being rescued after his plane was shot down by the Japanese over the Pacific.
When they picked him up, you can see that look in his face, that concern, even though he's being rescued. And that's the only time I've ever seen George Herbert Walker Bush with a little bit of fear in his eyes.
After leaving the Navy, Bush married his sweetheart, Barbara Pierce, after that chance meeting at a dance before the war. Their first child, George, was born while Bush attended his father's alma mater, Yale University. But George H.W. Bush was determined not to follow too closely in his father's footsteps.
He wanted to go west, traveled out to Texas, to Midland, Texas, with Barbara and a couple of the kids.
He told me once, he said, I got in my car, I drove out west, and I never looked back.
But the young couple suffered a tragic blow when their daughter Robin died of leukemia just shy of her 4th birthday.
Barbara Bush's hair turned white from that experience when she was 28 years old.
Do you ever get over that?
No. You don't get over it. It's very hard to talk about her.
I know, even now after all these years.
But it makes everybody more valuable. George Bush and I love every single living human more because of Robin.
My grandmother, in her final days, was at peace with dying, and she knew she was going to heaven and would be with Robin. And my grandfather, too, we knew that when he passed, he would go be with my grandmother and with Robin. So as much as it hurts to lose them, it's been reassuring to know that they're all together.
After making his fortune in the oil business in Texas, George Bush turned his sights to politics, Barbara and their children campaigning by his side.
Barbara Bush was a great political partner for George Bush. I think she had a great deal to do with his political ascent.
Bush had been a 2-term congressman when, in 1971, President Richard Nixon appointed him ambassador to the United Nations. He was director of the CIA and even served as a diplomat in China during the Ford administration.
He saw China burgeoning, so he got to see this fledgling powerhouse at a very nascent time in its development. And I think that was an incredibly important diplomatic experience for George Bush.
And the next president of the United States, Judge Bush.
Bush decided to make a run for president in the 1980 election. He faced formidable competition for the Republican nomination, senators, congressmen, and the governor of California, Ronald Reagan.
George Bush and Ronald Reagan had a very vigorous campaign against each other, where George Bush famously dubbed Ronald Reagan's economic plan voodoo economics, and that caused some bad blood between the two men.
This type of what I call a voodoo economic policy, it just isn't going to work.
But after a hard-fought battle for the nomination, Reagan tapped George Bush to be his vice president. The Reagan-Bush ticket won by a landslide.
And the 21-gun salute roars out for President Reagan.
Just 2 months into his term, an attempt was made on President Reagan's life. Vice President Bush is credited for his measured response to the crisis as he raced to the White House as Reagan went into surgery.
His arrival was very classy. We discussed about bringing him directly into the White House lawn from Andrews Air Force Base. And Bush vetoes that idea.
And when asked why, he said, because only the president lands on South Lawn. And I think Ronald Reagan appreciated that. And the two became very good friends.
Bush crisscrossed the globe representing the United States.
George Bush traveled to 75 or so countries during the course of the presidency. And Reagan would draw on the experiences of George Bush to understand a little bit more about what was happening around the world.
After 8 years as Reagan's vice president, Bush decided to make a bid for the presidency.
When George Bush was around Reagan as his vice president, he would literally sort of curve his body in deference to Reagan. His speechwriter called it the Episcopal tilt.
And he wasn't Reagan. He didn't have Reagan's political skills. He wasn't that good on the stump. So we needed a hook.
My opponent won't rule out raising taxes.
He got this idea of saying, you know, I'll just promise not to raise taxes.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
Read my lips. No new taxes. He did it to get elected. He thought he had to consolidate the conservative base.
Bush defeated Democrat Michael Dukakis, and while it wasn't a landslide like Reagan's elections, on January 20th, 1989, he was sworn in as the 41st President of the United States.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We live in a peaceful, prosperous time, but we can make it better. For a new breeze is blowing, and a world refreshed by freedom seems reborn.
A new president faces a world in turmoil and a campaign promise that threatened to make or break him.
What he meant to say was no new taxes for the rich.
When we return.
Congress says, okay, I'm going to do it.
So many people's view of you has changed. It's as if Clark Kent became Superman.
When you are not the number 2 on a team, but are really heading a team, as a president must do, it's different. And I've learned so much from this man.
And the presidency of George Bush was shaping up to be very different than Ronald Reagan's.
I think he admired Reagan's decisiveness, admired Reagan's rhetorical skills, but he wanted, when he came into office, to be a different kind of president, to be, as he said, kinder and gentler.
Do you have a vision, and if so, what is it?
I think my vision is the same as the 40 presidents that have preceded me. A world at peace. Not at any price, but a peace where freedom and democracy prevail.
That vision would be tested early in George Bush's presidency during the waning days of the Cold War.
Poland has started along an ascending path of democratic change.
George Bush was the right man to be in the presidency during the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Bush knew from the beginning that it wasn't going to be easy to coax the former Soviet Union out of a communist regime. As they like to say at the White House in those days, trying to bring in a 10-pound fish on a 5-pound line.
As the old Soviet order began to collapse, with it went the Berlin Wall.
It mattered enormously that when the Berlin Wall came down in November of 1989, Bush refused to be triumphalist. Didn't crow, didn't dance on the wall, as he put it.
I always wondered in my heart, was he remembering what his mother used to say about, don't take credit for yourself, give credit to the other team. And in this case, it was the German people.
His instinct was to ensure that the Iron Curtain went down with a whimper and not a bang. That natural humility kicked in, as did his natural diplomatic instincts.
Change was in the air all around the world.
The tectonic geopolitical plates were shifting. This was a time of remarkable change. You had the Tiananmen Square uprisings in China. You had Nelson Mandela being set free and ultimately becoming the president of South Africa.
So help me God.
These are remarkable times.
Diplomatic experience and his 8 years as vice president had honed Bush's foreign policy skills.
He frequently reached out to world leaders and would talk to them when there was nothing on the agenda.
Just saying, hey, how you doing? Just checking in. How's the family? What's going on? And just establishing that rapport.
Just to get to know them better, to engender their trust, so that when he needed them, he could go back to them. Prudence is a hallmark of George Bush's leadership, and in retrospect, that prudence, that instinctive humility in George Bush were the right qualities at that very sensitive time in our history.
Humility was a quality that also described Barbara Bush as First Lady.
You've received so many letters from people all over the country who say, oh, now I can let my hair go gray, I can gain a pound or two. They're so happy about you.
Well, I've certainly gotten a lot of letters. Stay fat, stay gray, stay wrinkled, we love you. And they are all meant with great warmth and love.
What they are saying when they talk about Barbara is that they sense in her a certain genuineness.
I think that's a very funny book.
As First Lady, Barbara Bush promoted literacy, even ghostwriting books by their dog, Millie.
President Bush, his wife Barbara, loved dogs.
That's pickles right there.
It was national news when Millie had puppies at the White House, revealing a rare glimpse of President Bush at a relaxed moment.
Sarah was like holding a grandchild, they're afraid to drop her.
It looked so immediate, it looked so warm, it looked so spontaneous.
During vacations, that couple would gather with children and grandchildren at their estate in Kennebunkport, Maine.
It's a place, all of my cousins come together, and when my grandfather was president, there used to be a helicopter pad, and we would take the little cars and we'd go down and greet him, and he'd come off.
And there he is, the president, our dad.
There's certainly, from top to bottom, a family full of love and affection for each other. A family is an important ingredient for anyone whose last name is Bush.
Members of the White House press corps trailed the tireless president.
I got up at 6 a.m. many mornings to watch him play golf. He loved to have reporters there because it made it like the U.S. Open.
He would start out in the day and he would have 18-hour marathon sporting events. It was like he was a one-man decathlon. There were always competitions. There would be tennis, and there would be horseshoes, and there would be boating, and there would be golfing.
The Bushes were all about love braided with competition.
Dad, how are you playing today?
Very well, Dorothy. I'm at the peak of my game.
They were a very competitive family, but there was an enormous amount of love.
Back at the White House, President Bush signed landmark pieces of legislation.
Signs the Americans with Disabilities Act. He establishes the Clean Air Amendments that really is our environmental policy now. These are big, big pieces of legislation.
George Herbert Walker Bush, domestic affairs, was kind of custodial. It was marked by a philosophy of do no harm. He didn't have a great big agenda. It was fairly minimal, but looking back on it, you can point to a couple of things that were defined and accomplished.
Supreme Court.
More controversial was Bush's nomination of Clarence Thomas to the Supreme Court. The enduring confirmation hearings featured testimony of law professor Anita Hill accusing Justice Thomas of sexual harassment.
On several occasions, Thomas told me graphically of his own sexual prowess.
I deny each and every single allegation against me today.
And when the economy began to falter, President Bush was forced to confront a crushing national deficit.
Our deficit is big, and I don't want to be a part of continuing to saddle the generations to come, our grandchildren, with more and more deficit.
He decides that the good of the country is to raise some taxes and establish budgetary reforms.
I've been pressing the Congress for a real growth package.
He knew at that point he might be sacrificing a second term, but he believed it was the right thing to do.
Raising taxes was a controversial move that some critics believed would seal his political fate.
Why do you think that your image has been tarnished in this way? I mean, a year ago, the strongest leader, a year later, weak, indecisive?
When we return.
Good evening. There has been a dangerous, late-breaking development in the Persian Gulf.
August 1990, President George H.W. Bush faced a new challenge, not the culmination of the Cold War, but crisis in the Middle East.
There are reports that Iraqi forces have invaded Kuwait.
It was an enormous test for George Bush's presidency.
He appeared on television getting out of his helicopter, heading to the White House. And he famously said,
"This will not stand. This will not stand, this aggression against Kuwait.
This will not stand."
There is no justification whatsoever for this outrageous and brutal act of aggression.
Bush built an unprecedented coalition of dozens of countries, relying on relationships skillfully built over the years.
You know, that coalition didn't just happen. It happened because George Bush stayed on the phone night and day. I mean, we'd awaken at 6 in the morning to Bonjour Francois, and at night we'd go to the other side of the world.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait.
It's the toughest decision the president makes, I can tell you that. It is the toughest. You feel a responsibility for every life keeping them safe, every life that's lost. You feel that responsibility.
It is a quick, decisive victory.
We kicked the Iraqi army out of Kuwait. For years afterwards, people criticized the president. Why didn't you go to Baghdad?
Do I like it that Saddam Hussein, this brutal dictator, is still there? No, but it was not our objective to go into downtown Baghdad and put American lives at risk to get Saddam Hussein.
148 American lives were lost in combat, far less than what was feared. The war is considered a military success. Bush's approval ratings skyrocketed.
Kuwait is liberated. Iraq's army is defeated.
We used force wisely, and we did it in a way that held our casualties to a minimum.
He has an approval rating of 89%, one of the highest approval ratings in the history of the presidency. As soon as the confetti from the parades is swept up, Americans go back to worrying about their situation at home.
Conservative Republicans increasingly worried that the White House has no clear program to deal with the foundering U.S. economy.
He was hit with criticism from all sides right when he was heading into the 1992 re-election campaign.
President Bush's approval rating took another beating today, largely because of concern about the economy.
Why do you think that your image has been tarnished in this way? I mean, a year ago, the strongest leader, a year later, weak, indecisive?
Well, the year ago...
Is it just the economy?
See, the reason, yes, I think it largely is the economy.
And there was that broken promise.
Read my lips. No new taxes.
It would haunt Bush.
I made one compromise on taxes. It didn't have a deleterious effect on the economy, but I think it caused a credibility problem.
What he meant to say was, no new taxes for the rich.
His opponents in the upcoming presidential race would pounce on the flip-flop. Independent Texas billionaire Ross Perot and young Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton.
He is yesterday's man. He offers us no real hope or vision for the future.
In 1992, he ran into one of the great political talents in American history. And so that was kind of a perfect storm.
The 1992 election was about two generations. It was about the World War II generation, the greatest generation, versus the boomers. But when Clinton went on Arsenio Hall, it was Clinton like identifying himself as being of a different generation.
Why should you be elected for 4 more years?
Because we've already accomplished big things, and because I don't leave the job unfinished, and I don't quit, and I don't pick up on marbles and go home when the going gets tough, nor should a president.
He's the most decent, honest person.
Wow.
Shouldn't say that in front of him, should I? And very funny. Not just funny looking. I mean very funny.
Well, I know who you're going to vote for.
You're darn right.
He got elected to do this, then the Congress...
But there are missteps in the campaign. Bush made a small but devastating mistake in one of the debates.
George Bush glanced at his watch. It led to the reinforcing of impressions that George Bush was indifferent, that he was above this campaign thing.
Make no mistake, for a guy that many people thought was a sort of nice, kind, compassionate person, he was very competitive.
My dog Millie knows more about foreign affairs than these two bozos.
November 1992, to Bush's shock and dismay, Bill Clinton won the election. In Bush's diary, he wrote, "It's hurt, hurt, hurt."
I just had a great feeling of letting down a lot of people that worked for me, a lot of work for our administration.
It was just disappointing. It was very disappointing.
So we will get behind this new president and wish him well.
George Bush, again, always his mother's son, was gracious in defeat. That was an inherent quality in George Bush. Grace, dignity, class.
And humor. He would even invite a special guest to the White House to boost staff morale, comedian Dana Carvey, who lampooned him on Saturday Night Live.
Tomorrow is Earth Day. Environment, a difficult problem. Gotta be prudent. The way to do the president is to start out with Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Then you add a little John Wayne. Here we go. Let's go over the ridge. You put them together. You got George Herbert Walker Bush.
I think that's just a remarkable reflection of his ability to poke fun at himself.
But there are no laughs on January 20th, 1993, the last day of the Bush administration.
I took a photo of him in bed. This was going to be the last couple of hours that he was president.
And it was a sad day when they had to essentially give the keys to the next family.
Time to say goodbye, but not for long.
Little did they know that they would be back 8 years later when their son became president.
This son of ours is not going to let you down. He's going to go all the way and serve with great honor all the way.
Stay with us. Back in Houston, after more than a decade at the epicenter of power and politics in Washington, D.C., the former president has to quickly adjust to life outside the White House.
Well, this is the first minute of the beginning of our new life, and now it's back to the real world for the Bushes.
The next morning when he woke up, Barbara Bush said, "George, from now on you got to get up and make your own coffee." That was his first step back into being Mr. George Bush, former president of the United States.
The Bushes were determined not to dwell on the loss.
Did he want to be president? Absolutely. But the times were against us. You do what you can, and then you move on. And there are a lot of things we want to do.
Texas is ready for a new generation of leadership, and I will provide that.
Their oldest son, George W., running for governor of Texas.
I want to thank everybody.
And Jeb for governor of Florida. Their father claims he was never interested in preserving his political legacy.
George Bush hated the word dynasty. It's smacked of monarchy. But he was proud of his family going into public service.
There'd be nothing worse than the father who got defeated running for his second term for president, trying to make something, be something through his son.
Would you have wished a political dynasty if you could have chosen?
Not for me.
But in 2000, the Bushes found themselves again on a presidential election campaign.
I swore I would never campaign again. Maybe I should have said, read my lips.
This son of ours is not going to let you down. He's going to go all the way and serve with great honor all the way.
Just 8 years after his own presidency, a proud father witnessed his son ascend to the same position.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
To see your son succeed you in the Oval Office, that's an amazing moment and unprecedented, but for John and John Quincy Adams in the 19th century.
We just got a report in that there's been some sort of explosion at the World Trade Center.
It is a presidency that was quickly tested. 3 days after the September 11th attacks, the bond between father and son was on display after President George W. Bush gave a speech at the National Cathedral.
So many have suffered so great a loss, and today we express our nation's sorrow.
Then he walked back to the pew, and his father, without looking at his son, just reached over and grabbed his hand. You could see manifest love and loyalty between those two men.
The love and loyalty was clear, but less obvious was just how much sway did the former president have over the current one.
I think the temptation for folks is to think about George H.W. Bush, who had held the office, schooling his son when he became president. And in fact, that's not what he did at all.
We talk on issues, and we talk a lot, but not mostly it's about family.
That remained the case even when the younger Bush went to war with the same dictator as his father, Saddam Hussein.
I believe the father understood that his son was headed in the wrong direction. But his son was president of the United States, and he was not going to say, now sit down here, young man, I'm going to tell you what to do. That was not George Herbert Walker Bush.
They mismanaged the war, and I think the father wanted to warn him, but the son did not want to hear it.
Tonight, the president faces growing criticism about his handling of the war.
Weapons of mass destruction have yet to be found.
The new round of criticism for President Bush.
Recently, Bush Sr. revealed to biographer John Meacham his private concerns at the time.
He didn't like the axis of evil talk.
An axis of evil, arming to threaten the peace of the world.
He held Cheney and Rumsfeld to some degree responsible for it, but he did tell me, ultimately, it's the president's fault.
But publicly, the former president stayed removed from politics, and as part of that exclusive club of ex-presidents, he forged a surprising new friendship.
In 2004, a tsunami ripped through Southeast Asia.
Terrible, terrible disaster in South Asia.
George W. Bush tapped his father and his father's opponent in 1992, Bill Clinton, to represent the United States.
We come to you not as presidents, but as two private citizens.
And the two remarkably became friends. The Bush family would tell you that they almost adopted Bill Clinton. They started calling him bro or brother from another mother.
I think it sent a good sign across the country because you run against somebody that doesn't make you an enemy.
The Bush's post-presidential life was devoted to philanthropy, with a focus on literacy, volunteerism, and cancer research in honor of their daughter, Robin.
One of his Secret Service agents' children was diagnosed with cancer, and some of the Secret Service agents shaved their heads in solidarity. And my grandfather was like, well, I want to do that. He shaved his head, so that's just exactly the kind of guy that Gampy is.
And of course, his main focus was on his family.
My grandfather's always liked to be around younger people, because I think it keeps him young at heart.
So young at heart that at age 75, he decided to celebrate his birthday by skydiving.
The Army is not happy with this idea. You know, the last thing you want to do is have your president jump out of an airplane, and he did it several times, and he had a ball. That's him.
I want the people, American people, to understand that just because you're old, that doesn't mean you can't do things in life. And I hope it inspires other people to get out the front door and mow the lawn or go and play shuffleboard. When I landed on the sands and I said, Barbara, bursting with pride, what do you think?
Bar, what'd you think?
She said, I haven't seen a free fall like that since the '92 election.
That is not true.
That's what you were thinking.
I wish I'd thought of it, though.
Coming up, one last political standoff.
Jeb Bush is a low-energy person.
There were reports that President Bush was throwing a shoe at the TV set when Trump was on.
Stay with us. Just when they thought they were out,
I'm a candidate for President of the United States.
They were pulled right back in when in 2015 their son Jeb announced his candidacy for president.
He's steady,
He's honest, and I'm thrilled to be the mother of one of the greatest men I know, Jeb Bush.
And ran straight into the Donald Trump juggernaut.
Jeb Bush is a low-energy person.
I think Donald Trump is trying to insult his way to the presidency, and it's not going to work.
There were reports that President Bush was throwing his shoe at the TV set when Trump was on.
I don't think it should be any great surprise that George H.W. Bush, lifelong Republican, would choose to vote for Hillary Clinton, because Donald Trump was the antithesis in many respects of everything that George Bush stood for.
I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
The Bush ethos is about civility, humility, and the notion of service above self.
And love. The great affection between George and Barbara was always evident. They would flirt and tease each other.
I think this would be a very good time to bring in your #1 asset.
Millie?
Millie? He should have said Ranger. That's the love of his life. How are you?
I'm just fine.
Glad to see you. How are you?
I kiss you, but your makeup might smear.
What? What do you mean you'd kiss me, but my makeup might smear?
He's always so charming, right?
No, he is charming.
You know Mrs. Bush is your #1 asset,
I
don't
certainly
you?
know that.
I'm his #1 fan.
And decades later, she remained his #1 fan, and he was still gushing about her.
She's just so kind, and she's an amazing spirit. She's just wonderful.
After her passing, George Bush released this statement. I always knew Barbara was the most beloved woman in the world. We have faith she is in heaven. Jeb Bush spoke of his parents' great love at his mother's funeral.
My dad is a phenomenal letter writer, and he would write Mom on their wedding anniversaries. Here's one of them written on January 6, 1994. Will you marry me? Oops, I forgot we did that 49 years ago. I was very happy on that day in 1945, but I'm even happier today.
Last June, when he was in the hospital, George Bush tweeted this photo of himself reading A Great American Love Story, adding, enjoying a great book and a wonderful walk down memory lane. The book was co-written by his granddaughter.
At certain points, we'll stop and say, Gampy, do you remember this? And he says, yes. Or sometimes he says, vaguely.
And now that President George H.W. Bush has passed, he will be laid to rest at his presidential library in College Station, Texas, next to his wife and daughter, Robin.
When I was a little guy, I'd fear death. I'd worried about it, be scared. Not anymore.
I think history will understand that this was a president that certainly made the world a much better place than he found it.
Oh my God,
an unlikely killer and an unlikely victim.
this guy's bleeding to death out here.
Twists and turns.
Yeah, he had a hat on and it almost like a beard.
Bombshells galore. It was just stranger than fiction.
The shooter came across the parking lot and raised his arm, pow, 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 pow.
Initially, people have no idea what's happening, right? They think it's just some lone gunman.
This person was targeted for some reason.
A young father of two senselessly murdered, dropping his child off.
Everyone was scratching their heads. Why was Rusty Snyderman murdered?
After the shooting, the suspect took off in that minivan and sped off.
What did you notice right away about him?
His black beard didn't belong. I mean, it was just, I knew it was a fake beard.
It just didn't make sense to me. It just seemed too elaborate and too Hollywood.
There were some previous incidences that were very odd.
He's running, I think he has a gun in his back pocket, and now he's running away. I don't know who the hell he is, and I don't want him by my house.
And then all of a sudden, the entire investigation shifted.
That had to be pretty disturbing.
Looked over Rusty and I said, I'm going to get the justice for you. Hopefully get your revenge.
On a clear day with a bird's eye view, you can see all the way to Atlanta. Its big city problems in the distance. Here in Dunwoody, Georgia, crime and danger seem to be somebody else's problem. Until one November morning, this suburban bubble is about to burst with a bang.
It was a beautiful fall day right before Thanksgiving. People were running their morning errands. Parents were dropping their kids off to the preschool.
One of those parents is Rusty Snyderman, who's on his way back to his car after dropping off his 2-year-old son.
Witnesses told police that they saw a silver minivan pull up, a man hop out, walked up to Rusty, didn't say a word to him.
Walked up, he turned around, pow, 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 pow.
I heard a couple of loud pops and looked up and looked over and saw right in front of me shooting Rusty.
Shot him several times.
I mean, it was pretty much point blank range.
The barrel was either at or right at his skin when fired. There was actually soot deep into the wound from the projectile.
And then calmly and coolly walked back to his vehicle and took off.
It was almost surreal, the experience. There was no chaos or running or yelling or anything. He just walked back to his van. It didn't look like what I would think a murder would be.
They thought it was a movie. They were actually looking around for the cameras.
Everybody thinks they know what they would do. You don't.
Cab County 911. Somebody's been shot and killed.
Which way did it go?
He headed east, Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon Road?
Yeah, he had a hat on and it almost like a beard.
Was he black, white, Hispanic?
I can't tell. He might have been.
It came over radio that there was a shooting. There was one person down, unknown status, and we all just went.
Sounded like a gunshot over here.
Somebody records a video. A doctor who happens to be nearby performs CPR, and a teacher grabs the children to get them out of harm's way.
There were a lot of witnesses to this shooting. Everybody saw it happen. The shooter made no effort to conceal themselves.
Honestly, you know, when the call came out, I was shocked. In Dunwoody, you know, everybody's pretty nice and everybody helps each other. So for something like this to happen, it was just a shocker.
The community was absolutely scared. Again, it's not something that happens normally. There's not a lot of violent crime in that area at all.
This guy's bleeding to death out here.
The police and the ambulance are on their way.
He didn't look conscious to me. He looked like he was struggling and trying to, you know, there was some movement, but I knew that it wasn't good.
There was a lot of blood everywhere. There were obvious gunshots to the patient. There was no pulse, and he was unresponsive. But that does not mean that you don't work this patient, because there have been times where we've been able to save patients.
He was white, possibly Hispanic. I would say he's about 5'9", 5'10". He's got a baseball cap on. It's a silver Caravan, almost looks like a Dodge. He had a hat on. It looked like he had a beard and a silver caliber gun.
Let me know when the officer gets right there with the patient.
And then who? Everybody's doing that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So we did notify surrounding agencies.
I started hearing rumblings about a shooting not far from where I live, probably about a 10-minute drive from my house. And that in and of itself was shocking because it's a very safe community.
Let's go now to Channel 2's Mike Pachinik with the latest on what he's learned. Mike.
At the time of Rusty Snyderman's murder, I was a reporter at WSB-TV in Atlanta.
I'm Mike Pachinik, Channel 2 Action News.
His murder happened that morning. I came in the afternoon and was assigned to go back to try to find people who knew Rusty, knew his family, try to get to the bottom of who he was and why somebody would want him murdered.
How did you first learn about the Snyderman shooting? It was in the news, obviously.
Yeah, it was all over the news. A husband is shot and killed right after he drops his child off.
This shooting has shaken the school and the community to its core.
The last thing you think about is dropping off your child at school and something like this happened.
It's very, 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 very scary to happen.
Tragic. Every parent is scared. Every parent who's got a young child in daycare is scared. They didn't know what the motive was. So it was big news in Atlanta.
To me, honestly, it looked like it was professional. It was just the calmness of it. It didn't seem like it was a crime of passion. It was just very cold and calculated.
The shooting did happen at close range. There was no indication that Rusty was going to do anything or was trying to attack the person. It was a purely one-sided shooting, and close range to me said it was personal.
Right now, they are out actively searching for the man that shot this father. Rusty Snyderman's car was parked right there where you see that orange spray paint.
Well, it looks like a hit. You know, happened in broad daylight with witnesses around.
I absolutely didn't believe at any point that it was a random shooting.
It was somebody that looked like targeted him on purpose.
In the time it takes to count to 4, the innocence of a schoolyard, backpacks, snacks, goodbyes, shrouded in gun smoke, and now mystery.
The school and several of the businesses in this complex do have security cameras. Dunwoody police tell me right now they are actively looking at that video to see if they can get a better description of the suspect.
Initially, people have no idea what's happening, right? They think it's just some lone gunman?
You know, no one could come up with a motive. Random shooting at a daycare center right after a child has been dropped off. This person was targeted for some reason, but nobody knew what that reason was.
Still ahead, the clue you couldn't miss. What did you notice right away about him?
Well, I noticed his black beard.
The gunman's less than brilliant disguise.
Didn't belong. I mean, it was just, I knew it was a fake beard.
Here we are now at Dunwoody Prep. You were here, what was it, 14 years ago, I guess it was. Former Detective Andrew Thompson takes me back to the scene of the crime, just outside Atlanta. You think the shooter was parked over here?
Yeah, witnesses had the shooter park over here. As Rusty came around this way, he came around the front of his car, and he turned to open the door. The shooter came across the parking lot and raised his arm, pow, 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 pow.
Rusty Snyderman had dropped off his child, and as he was exiting, he was shot multiple times by an unknown assailant who jumped in his vehicle and fled the scene.
This was a huge case in Atlanta, and especially since it happened in the parking lot of a preschool, you know, a young father of 2 senselessly murdered, dropping his child off.
Just shocked that that happened here.
This shooting has shaken the school and the community to its core.
I was just in disbelief. You know, you never expect murder to step into your life, and particularly somebody like Rusty. I not only didn't know of any enemies that Rusty had, I couldn't imagine him having an enemy because he was such a positive person.
It was my first homicide. I didn't really know what to expect when I came up, but I just clicked right into professional mode and remembered all the steps that I need to take that I learned back in the academy.
You started organizing, you start putting things in motion for witnesses and evidence, but you do something unusual. You bend down to the victim.
Yeah, after I got everybody where I thought they should be and got the base information, I came back over and I looked over Rusty and I said, I'm gonna get the justice for you. I'm gonna get this guy and hopefully get your revenge. I wanted to assure him that I was going to do the best that I could to bring the killer to justice. And I said, have faith. And I went and started doing my job.
I was tasked with going back and trying to just dig into the family a little bit, find out who they were and where they worked, what sorts of things were important in their lives.
He had a very outgoing personality. He was very engaging. He was very funny. He was fun to be with.
Rusty always had a lot of friends. That goes to Rusty's personality. You know, Rusty would leave an indelible mark on people. He had a personality that always would, bring you in.
And tell me about the family and what you learned later on about them.
Rusty and Andrea started dating in college.
The two met at Indiana University at a retreat for Jewish students.
By all accounts, they had a fairy tale romance, and when they finished school, Rusty got an opportunity to get his MBA at Harvard.
They had lived together for 7 years.
They'd been together a long time before they got married, and she was just part of the family then.
They were a good team.
She presents very warm, gives you a huge embrace. So, yeah, I had a good feeling about them.
They had a good marriage. They had 2 young kids. They had a beautiful home. They had a wonderful life. They had a lake house where they spent their weekends.
I've never seen him happier than being a dad. He was a big kid at heart himself, and he just adored his kids.
He was so natural. He just naturally had the skill to connect with them, and he would sit on the floor and play with them. And not everyone has that natural ability, but he really did.
Rusty is getting a lot more time with the kids because Andrea has taken a demanding new job. There's lots of travel. Florida, Colorado, even to Europe.
She was feeling good about it. I think she liked it. I think she was challenged. It was a good change for their family, so I was happy for them.
Police begin to look, of course, at the family as they begin to investigate this case. What did they discover about the couple? Are they happy? Are there struggles?
There was no indication of any strife in the home life. They were your typical successful, upper middle class, hardworking couple.
Now investigators turn back to that security camera video of the bearded killer in the minivan.
The key point of evidence we had was the daycare has a camera there that overlooks the central parking lot. And that was the only visual that we had of the suspect's vehicle driving around once, then coming back around again.
It's a silver Caravan, almost looks like a Dodge. He had a hat on, it looked like he had a beard, and a silver caliber gun.
Witnesses told police that they saw a silver minivan pull up to the scene, and after the shooting, the suspect took off in that minivan and sped off.
2 odd things about that van. 1, witnesses say the license plate was missing. And 2, when detectives rewind, they see that same minivan cruising the parking lot an hour before the shooting. So that morning, you pull in right here?
Yeah.
Larry Minogue was dropping off his son that morning. It was about an hour before the shooting.
As I was pulling into the parking lot, I noticed a van going in front of the building.
What did you notice right away about him?
Well, I noticed his black beard, and I could tell, as far as how dark it was, that it didn't belong. I mean, it was just, I knew it was a fake beard.
Larry says he even scolded the man.
I just looked at him and said, you don't belong here. You shouldn't be driving through this part of the parking lot at this hour.
Did he acknowledge you?
No.
Only later that morning does Larry realize that he'd come that close to a killer.
I hear it on the radio. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, I think I saw that person.
That had to be pretty disturbing.
Well, it was, and then I just called the Dunwoody Police Department and they said, can you come by?
Police release a sketch based on Larry's description. It's shown everywhere.
The thing that really struck me was they all noted that this was a really strange-looking beard on the suspect and that it looked fake.
Some people described it like an Abraham Lincoln beard.
Yeah, he had a hat on, and it almost like a beard.
A manhunt now underway for the bearded killer. And why was Rusty Snyderman calling 911 just a week before his murder? Was there an earlier attempt on his life?
He's running. I think he has a gun in his back pocket, and now he's running away. I don't know who the hell he is, and I don't want him by my house.
Everyone was scratching their heads. Why was Rusty Snyderman murdered?
They were really focused on chasing down any lead they got because at the time they had no credible information as to who had done this.
We got a lot of leads. Everybody was fielding phone calls for leads, and because you put something out like that, especially where the public is very interested, and you're going to get a lot of calls.
In fact, a detective from across the country calls to compare notes about his case involving the murder of a Jewish woman just 2 days before Rusty's killing.
One of the most prominent publicists to the stars, Ronnie Chasen, was murdered, shot behind the wheel of her Mercedes in Beverly Hills.
Investigators are working on the theory that this was a planned attack.
The detective from Beverly Hills, California, gave me a call, and he was working a case that also involved people from the Jewish community. And he thought it was worthwhile for him to give me a call to see if there might have been a connection.
I know I got a call from the sheriff of a local county, Putnam County, that had a couple that was killed at their lake house. And so he called to see if there was some kind of connection. Of course, you know, there was no connection. So it does bring out a lot of those kind of maybe similar cases that people are, you know, searching for a lead on their case.
Then there's the tip from a woman so convinced she spotted the man in the sketch that she follows him.
When police put out the picture of the minivan and the composite sketch of the shooter, a woman at a nearby grocery store thought she saw the killer and started taking pictures to try to help police catch this person.
According to police, the woman tails the man into the store and back out into the parking lot, secretly snapping photos with her phone.
And as it turned out, it was not the killer. He had an airtight alibi.
With any investigation, they always want to start by finding out whatever they can about the victim. And so in this case, they dug into where Rusty had worked, what sort of business ventures he was involved in.
We spoke to his business partners.
Some detectives thought the murder looked like the work of a hitman, a murder for hire, possibly related to one of Rusty's past jobs.
We also looked into his wealth management job that he had briefly. That was could be a great indicator as to a motive for it. You know, if you're a multimillionaire and you end up losing millions of dollars, that could really flip a switch in somebody and want to get revenge on you.
Police quickly realized that this was not a business deal gone bad. They had no evidence to show that Rusty owed anybody money or that he had mishandled anybody's finances, so they pretty much put that to bed.
It just didn't make sense to me. It just seemed too elaborate and too Hollywood, if you know. And Rusty's not the kind of guy that's going to get in any kind of trouble. No criminal history, no anything.
Then this puzzling revelation. In the weeks before he was killed, Rusty Snyderman had called the police for help, not once, but twice.
They can't have emergency 911. What's the address of the emergency?
There were some previous incidences that were very odd.
About a month before Rusty Snyderman was killed, something strange happened at his house.
My garage door suddenly opened. We're concerned there may be somebody in the garage or in the house. My wife and I are both upstairs and my kids are in bed.
They were panicking a little bit that somebody was trying to break into the house.
Okay, relax. There's nothing to freak out about. The police are here,
Then, about a week before his murder, Rusty calls 911 again. This time, it's more serious.
There was another incident where Rusty was starting to leave his home to go about his day, and he saw somebody behind his air conditioner on the side of his house.
And he notices a gentleman laying down beside his house.
When he confronted the guy ran away down towards the end of the cul-de-sac.
He's running. I think he has a gun in his back pocket, and now he's running away. I don't know who the hell he is, and I don't want him by my house.
In the middle of that call, you can hear Rusty pausing to attend to his son.
I know, but I didn't get your water bottle. I'm sorry. He was wearing a hat and earmuffs, black mustache.
Odd, sure, but a lot of people own guns, and so that's not a direct indicator that the person was looking to kill Rusty.
Police respond to both calls and investigate, but no arrests are made.
It's another clue as part of our investigation, trying to determine, is that related to the fact that he was shot, or is it unrelated? You know, we don't know at that particular point in time.
About a month after the murder, investigators catch a break, uncovering the biggest clue in this entire investigation. A 4,000-pound clue, essentially.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest clue they had in terms of figuring out who did this.
And that's, probably, as far as leads go, our top lead.
And then all of a sudden, the entire investigation shifted.
When they hit on that, that ended up being a goldmine for them.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but Police Chief Billy Grogan and his team will settle for just one clue hidden in those crime scene photos. Anything that leads to the man in the sketch, the black-bearded killer who shot Rusty Snyderman and then escaped in a silver minivan.
Any sort of serious crime like this, you start with the closest people to the victim and work your way out.
Investigators speak with Rusty Snyderman's wife, Andrea, several times.
Do you know anybody that drives a silver minivan?
No, I don't know anyone else that owns a silver minivan.
When they begin looking into this case, police talk to Andrea. What do they learn from her?
Andrea is totally baffled. She doesn't know who would kill her husband, why her husband would be killed. She's very distraught.
So the day after the shooting, Detective Thompson is asking Andrea to try to think of anybody who would have done this. Maybe an enemy of her husband? Somebody with a romantic interest in her?
Has there been anybody recently, when I say recently, within the past year, that has expressed an interest in you?
Yes.
Who?
My boss.
Your boss?
Yes.
Andrea says her boss had made a pass at her and that she turned him down, and that was that.
This is not an individual that would do something like this.
In a follow-up interview the next week, Detective Thompson wants more details.
Let's talk about your boss.
Okay.
How did he approach you with expressing an interest?
We travel for business together, and we were at dinner, and he said, he thinks I'm fantastic, would love to have a relationship with me, but knows that that's probably unlikely, and that was sort of,
So it was a very polite...
Very.
Come on.
He really respected me as a person.
Andrea tells him that she and her boss remained on good terms, that they continued to work closely together.
We're close friends, he and I. Even once he said that, and I said no, we work together a lot, travel together a lot. I enjoy I admire him as a professional. I enjoy learning from him.
As for the idea of her husband cheating on her, according to Andrea, it was laughable.
He doesn't have time to go to the bathroom, let alone have an affair. And he loved me so much and made that clear 1,000,000 times a day. So I laugh because it's
so absurd.
It's absurdly ridiculous.
Detectives now turn back to those ghostly security camera images, the killer's minivan. There's surveillance video that reveals a silver minivan.
Yes.
A 4,000-pound clue, essentially.
Yeah.
The van was the only solid evidence I had of the suspect. I looked at that video so many hours on so many days on my computer, just trying to find the fingerprint on that van that'll make it stand out.
How did they go about tracking down this van?
Well, we called the manufacturers of just about every minivan that was, looked similar.
First I went to Ford, I went to Dodge, I went to Honda. The last one I went to, which was a recommendation from one of our patrol officers, was Kia. But, I hadn't thought about Kia. So I went to the Kia dealership.
It was a 2011 Kia Sedona minivan.
The 2011 model of that Kia Sedona minivan had only recently become available.
There was right around 1,000 or so in the entire country. So that was a relief.
And it gets better. The number of 2011 Kia Sedonas sold in Georgia at the time is just a lucky 13.
We're calling every single person that owned one of these vans that is registered to. Everybody has an alibi. Nobody's in Atlanta, nobody's in Dunwoody.
So detectives go back to that videotape. They get it enhanced and they play it on a big screen TV.
And the first time I played it, and the first time I saw this were 2 stickers on the front windshield that were offset from each other. That was my fingerprint. So now I had to figure out, what the hell are those stickers?
And there was a sticker in the window, and it looked like it possibly could be from a rental vehicle.
Turns out that Kia Sedonas were a very popular enterprise rental vehicle. And so when they hit on that, that ended up being a gold mine for them.
So it was this particular rental car company that had this specific vehicle in their fleet.
This leads to another important discovery. By chance, the barcode stickers on the suspect's van had been applied incorrectly. They were offset differently than stickers on other enterprise vehicles.
So they ended up getting the list of all of the 2011 Kia Sedona minivans that were rented on that date, and the names of all of the people who had them rented. When they went to the actual locations to look at them, they were able to figure out which van it was based on those stickers because they weren't properly placed. They were like ever so slightly off instead of being parallel across the windshield.
I asked my rental car company contact, hey, when you have this year, make, model vehicle come into any of your lots, let me know. He said, absolutely. And he gave me a call one day, hey, we have a vehicle that might be what you're looking for up in this lot in North Georgia.
Detectives find the windshield stickers match those on the van at the crime scene. And then, bingo. A search of the minivan turns up synthetic hairs, just like those from a costume beard.
Beard fiber would be good evidence because we had several witnesses who said it looked like the suspect was wearing a fake beard.
Police now have the getaway car driven by Rusty Snyderman's killer. And better, they have the name of the person who rented the vehicle. A man by the name of Hemi Newman.
Who had the van on that day? Hemi Newman. I think we found our guy. Don't know why yet, but we found our guy.
Detectives now have their suspect right where they want him, in their interrogation room.
It's as if I'm a suspect. I know you're a suspect. Are you a suspect?
The man in the minivan, the man suspected of shooting Rusty Snyderman, is Hemi Newman. It's a name that doesn't ring a bell with police at first.
Now, we're hot on the trail of Hemi Newman. Now, we had to find him. We had to talk to him, see what he wanted to say.
And detectives do what anybody else might do.
I Googled his name and found his LinkedIn resume.
Surprisingly, the suspect, Hemi Newman, is a big executive at GE in nearby Marietta. Then lead detective Thompson gets a call from his bosses.
It's like, hey, we have Hemi. We're going back to the precinct. Meet us there. Great. So I rushed back to the precinct. By the time I got back, the sergeant and lieutenant were already in the interview room talking to Hemi.
Not many suspects bring an iPad to an interrogation room, but this one did.
You okay? What? You all right? It's unnerving to be in a room like this.
At the time, the Dunwoody Police Department is in an office tower, the kind of building where ordinarily an executive might feel right at home.
I want to get into the incident with Rusty on that day, November 18th.
You don't expect an executive with GE to be in our interview room, being interviewed about a homicide, but yet he was.
Listen, I'm going to talk to you about the day of the shooting, but as everybody else, I'm going to read you your rights on it, your Miranda rights.
Do I have to worry?
I don't think so. I'm not worried.
Newman isn't under arrest. He's there voluntarily. But when police read him his rights, he hesitates.
You understand?
Do I need a lawyer?
Do you need a lawyer?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
This is what you need to ask yourself. These questions, do you feel like asking you questions about Rusty? Do you need a lawyer?
No, not at all, but
I
you're
have
reading me this, and I've never been in a situation like this.
The two detectives that were in there, him and another one, you know, were obviously playing off each other, trying to get what they could out of Hemi Newman.
In the beginning, you know, we wanted to see why he had the van.
I mean, this is not rocket science. You're a smart guy. You're not signing away your mortgage.
No, I'm not signing away my mortgage, but this is very uncomfortable.
You're in the business world. You see papers all the time.
I know, but you read Miranda rights, and it seems like it's as if I'm a suspect.
And you're a suspect. Are you a suspect?
I don't think I need to be a suspect. I shouldn't be a suspect. There's no reason why I should be a suspect, but you're reading me my rights.
He was very calm, unusually calm.
I want to know what happened on the 18th. I got to know.
Okay, and I was at work.
I think he was trying to find out what we knew as much as we were trying to find out what he knew.
Do you know why I'm calling you? For help.
I know.
So you answered my call.
Back.
Right, to help.
Okay. But
and
getting rid of your Miranda rights isn't help. It's saying we can hold anything against you, and I don't know.
Initially, it's, you know, gathering a lot of information, but then it gets into the whole crux of the matter, and, you know, he's not admitting anything, denying it.
Hemi, this is what we got. We got that van on video the day Rusty shot. And I swear, the more I look at you, the more I see the person inside that van. I'm giving you every opportunity, man. I don't think things should have happened that way. You've got a heart and you've got a soul, man. You're not a criminal. Things just go wrong.
Executives are used to long meetings, but not like this one. A tiny room, one table, two detectives, a fuzzy video camera. It goes on for 5 hours.
You're here because that van was there. We know it's where. It was over there where Rusty got shot. Listen, look at me and don't doubt me. I'm telling you what happened. You got to admit to yourself what happened with that van. I'm telling you, you were there when Rusty got shot. Now, Hemi, you were there. I know you were. Hemi.
How do you know I was there?
Because it's on video. That van is on the video. The van was there. I've got it on video. You're at the parking lot. You're there with Rusty. The question is, why'd you shoot him? Why did it have to get done that way?
One investigator leaves the room and then comes back with photos of that rented minivan caught on camera at the crime scene.
This is the van, okay? And that's your van.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you that
Hemi, look me.
I'm not there.
As the interview went on, he was looking more and more guilty.
You're telling me you didn't do this? Hemi.
I
Hemi Newman admits that he had rented a 2011 Kia Sedona on November 18th, but he denies that he drove it to the daycare and murdered Rusty Snyderman.
Are you prepared to tell me now you're not the guy? Because you haven't said that yet. All afternoon, you have not said, I did not damn do it.
You sit here and crowd me, you come up with all this stuff, you're accusing me of something, and it was obvious from the beginning, because I knew you guys were talking about the car, that you're somehow implicating me in this whole thing.
Newman says he's got an alibi, that he was at work at GE the morning Rusty was murdered. But investigators aren't buying it.
At that point, we had all the evidence we needed to place him in the minivan, say that nobody else drove the minivan. I went out and got the arrest warrant for Hemi Newman.
Go ahead and stand up for me. You've been explained to what's taking place tonight. You've been placed under arrest for the murder of Mr. Snyder. Yes.
At the same time, while we were finishing the interview, we were confident we had our guy, and we had a whole lot more work to do.
No, it's far from close. You need a probable cause to make an arrest. You need a lot more to get a conviction.
Police say they've got the man who shot Rusty Snyderman, but they still don't know why, what, or who could drive a man like Hemi Newman to kill.
The big question that hung over all of this is what could drive someone to commit murder?
It was becoming more and more clear that there was a lot more to the story.
You've been placed under arrest for the murder of Mr. Snyder.
Why would a late 50s executive wake up one day and kill somebody? Put a wig on and gun somebody down in a parking lot?
A young father of two senselessly murdered, dropping his child off.
This was national attention. You come back to a case that now is swarming.
This is what he did.
The man wanted someone else's wife, so he killed her husband.
The plan included me being there for Andrea after the fact.
He got caught, and all of a sudden he's insane.
I see dead people. They're telling me to kill people.
What was that all about? What was this description of a demon and an angel?
A demon that sounded like Barry White and an angel that sounded like Olivia Newton-John told him to do this? Like, come on.
We're talking about a self-proclaimed delusional individual who killed my husband.
How does she come across?
Not like a grieving widow.
Andrea Snyder, adulterer, liar, and master manipulator.
Where is the evidence that she was a party to the murder of her husband?
When investigators arrest Hemi Newman for gunning down Rusty Snyderman in this parking lot, the question so many are asking is why would a GE executive want to murder a father of two?
He got shot for one of three reasons: greed, revenge, or lust.
Detectives think they've got their person, but they're searching for which of these age-old motives may have driven Hemi Newman to kill. And they discovered a curious connection between him and Rusty Snyderman's wife, Andrea.
What's your relationship with Andrea?
Andrea and I are friends.
Hemi Newman was Andrea Snyderman's boss.
That same boss that Andrea had mentioned to investigators.
How did he approach you with expressing an interest?
He said, he thinks I'm fantastic, would love to have a relationship with me, but knows that that's probably unlikely.
You can only imagine our surprise, when we have the paperwork from the Enterprise and Google your name and you're her boss.
During the interrogation with police, they pressed him on the nature of his relationship with Andrea Snyderman.
I find her attractive, and I indicated that to her. Then I said, I'd like to continue to develop the relationship. And she basically said, no, I'm committed to Rusty, and that ain't gonna happen.
They began to learn that Hemi Newman's marital life was not great. In fact, at the time of the shooting, he had moved out of his home.
Problems in his marriage and Newman's attraction to Andrea Snyderman, all of this and a potential motive for Rusty's murder begins to take shape for police.
Jealousy gets in the heart. Envy takes over. The mind starts working, and that life looks a hell of a lot better than mine right now.
Hemi Newman may have confessed to his feelings for Andrea Snyderman, but when it comes to a confession about his connection to the shooting, that's a different story.
I was not there. I did not pull the trigger on the gun just like Rusty Snyderman.
At the end of the interview, our detectives arrested Hemi Newman.
You arrest him? That's what I'm saying.
After his arrest, Newman pleads not guilty to a charge of malice murder.
Myself and a detective went to Andrea's house to deliver the news that we had arrested the person who killed her husband.
We made an arrest on the case.
Are you serious?
We have.
Do you have the person in custody?
That's all I see. Anything else?
Who is it?
It's the boss.
Are you kidding me? Please, no.
Sorry to tell you, but
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The Dunwoody police called me and said, we've made an arrest. And so I said, who? As soon as I knew his name, it just made my skin crawl.
The murder trial for Hemi Newman, the man accused of murdering a father outside his child's daycare center in Dunwoody, is moving fast on this very first day.
All eyes are now on courtroom 5D here in the DeKalb County Courthouse as Hemi Newman's trial is about to begin. But before opening statements, a big surprise. Newman now admits that he killed Rusty Snyderman, but says he's not guilty because he was mentally ill when he committed the crime.
All right.
All right, you may be seated. The state may proceed with its opening statement.
Boil it down to a sentence. A man wanted someone else's wife, so he killed her husband. He got caught. And all of a sudden, he's insane.
At this point in time, the defense will have an opportunity to give you their opening statement.
This case is not about what happened. We know what happened. This case is about why. Hemi was like a puppy in love. He felt that he and Andrea were like soul mates.
Even though Hemi Newman has now admitted to firing the gun that killed Rusty Snyderman, prosecutors still need to lay out their case. So they begin by tracking his movements the day of the shooting, beginning with his morning at GE before sunrise.
So he's up at his office at 5:30 something, turns on his computer, does a few things, and without using the elevator, exits. Defendant used the stairs and went out an unmanned back door. The cameras in the employee parking garage, they caught the defendant leaving in the silver Sedona Kia van.
Prosecutors argue that just 2 hours after Hemi Newman shot and killed Rusty Snyderman, he fills up his rental car with gas, returns it, and then heads back to work in his own car.
You even got video of him there, dressed the same as he arrived that morning.
Chris Lang, CHRI.
Then prosecutors called Chris Lang to the stand. He was in the parking lot that morning, and in a dramatic display, DA Robert James demonstrates how Snyderman was shot.
There's a person that just comes out of nowhere and shoots him several times.
If you're laying on your stomach, okay, with your head towards me, okay. From where you are there, the shooter would have been right here.
We never did find the weapon that was used, but I guess we had the next best thing.
Say your story name for the record.
My name is Jan Da Silva.
Jan Da Silva was important in the trial as well.
Yeah, Jan was able to connect the dots because we could show that it looks like he committed the murder, but we didn't have a murder weapon.
Can you tell us where you actually listed the gun?
It was a website.
Mr. Da Silva said he had sold a Bersa 40 caliber Thunder pistol. I showed him the lineup and he immediately identified Hemi Newman as the person he sold the gun to.
Do you know who the person was that contacted you?
Yes, sir.
What was his name?
Hemi Newman.
I asked him, do you still have the test fire casing that comes with the gun when they sell it to you?
Typically, after somebody buys a gun, it comes with what's called a test fire casing, a spent bullet that essentially proves that the gun has been tested and works properly. Jan Da Silva said he actually had given that casing to his girlfriend, and luckily for investigators, she still had it. Prosecutors say that souvenir shell casing matches the bullet casings found at the crime scene, linking the gun to the murder.
What would have been about a week after he sold the gun to Hemi, Hemi came back up to the restaurant where Jan Da Silva was working as a valet.
He started off by saying, don't ever have a mistress.
Don't ever have a mistress?
Yes, sir.
And Newman tells Jan Da Silva something else about that gun he'd recently sold him.
He told me he just touched it on the Lake Lanier, and that it was okay because he made sure that it was touched somewhere where nobody can find it.
What does this all begin to tell them about Hemi Newman?
This was a massive cover-up.
All right, Mr. Deputy, we're in recess till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
A well-planned cover-up and proof, according to prosecutors, that Hemi Newman was very much in his right mind when he planned this murder. But now his trial is about to take a truly bizarre turn, one that includes some of the world's most famous musical names.
To the latest twist in the so-called daycare murder trial, a Georgia man accused of gunning down his romantic rival.
Tell me how intense this was. This was national attention.
It's the most intense case I've ever been involved with, and I've tried high-profile cases.
Bring in my jury, please.
The prosecution painted Hemi Newman as a lying, cheating man who was faking his mental illness, who wanted Rusty Snyderman out of the picture so that he could marry Andrea Snyderman, take their money and her children, and ride off into the sunset.
Hemi was broke. All those things came out in his interrogation. He was unhappy in his relationship with his wife.
You have all these expenses, and we have no money. I told my wife, I said, we don't have any money. We're broke.
The defense, meantime, painted a picture of a troubled man with undiagnosed bipolar disorder who had a traumatic childhood.
The answer of why in this case, it actually begins with Hemi's father.
His father was a concentration camp survivor. Very difficult man, very distant man, not very loving. Our belief was because of his bipolar disorder, he didn't have the capacity to know right from wrong at the time of the shooting of Rusty Snyderman.
To counter that argument, the state shows jurors videos of 2 different evaluations of Hemi Newman with a court-appointed psychiatrist.
What I've been told that I need to do, and that is that Rusty needed to die.
And this is where the trial takes a truly bizarre turn.
During the summer of 2010, the defendant claims that he was visited by a 6-foot dark demon. Also, he claims a 6-foot bright white angel came to him.
Is it a low voice, a high voice? It's a deep voice. Almost like a very white.
That's right. According to...
Understand what he was saying.
What was that all about?
There are essentially 2 ways you can be acquitted if you commit a crime and you claim that you're insane. One way is what we call the right from wrong test, that you were so far gone that you don't understand the difference between right and wrong. The other way, which was the centerpiece of this trial, is that you were suffering from a delusion that compelled you to do the act.
When he comes, I think he's real. Okay.
Do you think he's real now? What do you think he is?
Now, I'm talking to you and sort of analyzing it.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Hemi Newman's defense says that part of his psychosis was a belief that Rusty Snyderman's children were actually his, and that he needed to kill Rusty to protect them.
The plan included me being there for Andrea after the fact.
Okay.
It wasn't only killing Rusty, but also the protection and being there for the children.
Hemi's goal in shooting Rusty was to save Rusty's children from the same kind of torment that he himself experienced as a child. He thought he was doing the right thing, by killing Rusty to save his children.
And during those recorded interviews, Newman makes some surprising allegations about his relationship with Andrea.
We kissed, I was very briefly, it was just a very brief kiss. That was it. And then I told her, I said, we're gonna regret this.
Newman also discusses a business trip he says he took with Andrea, where he claims they ended up alone in a hotel room watching a movie together.
I was already pretty late. She put on her pajamas, I put on my pajamas, and we decided to watch the movie in bed. And we became intimate. And
You had intercourse?
no. And then I went back to my bed.
Andrea denies this ever happened, and Hemi Newman continues to maintain that he and Andrea never had a sexual relationship. But prosecutors think there could have been another motive: money.
Rusty Snyderman had a couple $1 million life insurance policy that really became a focal point for investigators.
He wanted Rusty's life, and he wanted Rusty's wife. He wanted the money because they're wealthy. The house was paid for. I think the house at the time was worth almost $1 million.
State calls Andrea Snyderman, Judge.
It's becoming clear that at this trial, there's one person everybody wants to hear from.
Do you have any idea why the defendant would have these feelings toward you?
I think I'm a pretty nice person.
And when Andrea Snyderman takes the witness stand, it's a very hot seat.
Do you know why Mr. Newman would have...
Yeah.
Did that happen?
Did what happen?
Did you wake up together in Denver, in Tahoe?
No.
Even so, Andrea testifies that when she and her boss traveled together, she allowed him into her hotel rooms 2 times. But she says that was before she realized Newman was stalking her.
Did he stalk you from inside your own room?
Stalking can take on many different meanings.
So that's a yes.
He was there to spend time with me,
In
evidently.
your room? In your room?
Yeah, he did not share a room with me. Was he in my room? He might have been for a little while, but didn't share a room with me.
And whether Andrea recognized it or not, it seemed that Newman's behavior was becoming more and more unpredictable. Remember that 911 call Rusty made to police about a strange man lurking outside his home?
I don't know who the hell he is, and I don't want him by my house.
Turns out that was Hemi Newman, an admission he eventually made during one of his mental health evaluations.
I told Hemi, I told like 6 other people also what happened on the side of my house, because it was bizarre and scary.
Normally, when you're called as a prosecution witness, you're there to help their case. They treat you nicely. They treated her as a hostile witness from the get-go.
I had no choice but to continue my career and my job.
Andrea Snyderman was defiant because both sides were coming at her, full bore.
The stalker that you've now testified about, you picked him up at the airport.
Yeah.
You flew home with him.
That's correct.
You changed seats to sit next to him.
That's how we always travel.
In one of the emails, she talks to Hemi about feeling like she's betrayed her family and expressing remorse over actions.
I turn to the second page of that email.
Yep.
Hemi Newman says, please never forget how much I love you. And how did you respond?
I know, but so do other people. I betrayed them all. I'm not sure how to deal with that for now, but my burden, not yours.
What happened in Greenville, man?
We were holding each other's hands, and that's it. It may sound worse than it is, but to me, that was a betrayal.
So you're repenting in the email, at least, from holding his hand?
Yep.
She was pushing back on these allegations, and she wanted people to know unequivocally, I had nothing to do with this, I didn't have an affair, I didn't betray my husband, certainly didn't want him dead.
Do you know why Mr. Newman would have emailed a friend that you finally gave in?
No, I don't. We're talking about a self-proclaimed delusional individual who killed my husband. No, I don't question anything that he sent to anyone.
Here you have this widow of the victim adamantly saying that something did not happen, and yet both sides the attorneys were arguing that it did.
One witness after another takes the stand to testify about what they claim was the nature of the relationship between Hemi Newman and Andrea Snyderman. The jury even hears from a bartender in South Carolina who recalls serving the pair.
What stood out most was that he kept spinning her around to the salsa music. I know at one point she kind of was dancing for him. He pulled her back, groped her. They were groping each other, I know, because I kind of turned away.
At any time did you see the parties kiss?
Yes, I did.
How many times did they kiss?
I would say about 3 times.
Andrea is also asked about this trip, but says she remembers certain details differently.
We had some drinks at the bar, maybe 1, 2.
Did you dance?
I got onto the dance floor myself.
Did you dance with the defendant?
He came to join, and there was a time where he reached out his hand and twirled me around, and that's it.
Well, did you kiss him or did he kiss you?
No. No.
Looking at her testimony, it was sort of hard to remember who was on trial.
Yeah.
Whether it was Andrea Snyderman or Hemi Newman.
Yeah.
You all went after her, and the defense went after her.
Yes. Yeah. We had to, because we had to establish motive.
How does she come across to the jury?
Not like a grieving widow. Dishonest, disingenuous, a liar.
And there's something else that stands out for prosecutors, something they see as a discrepancy in Andrea's story about the day Rusty was shot.
Andrea Snyderman testified she didn't know Rusty had been shot until she got to the hospital.
At the time you called Don Snyderman, at that time, did you know what had happened to Rusty?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know what happened to Rusty until I got to the emergency room.
Okay.
No one told me what happened to Rusty.
Rusty's own father and one of her friends testified that she called them to say that Rusty had been shot.
She called and said Rusty had been shot. She was so sorry, and that she was going to Dunwoody Prep to find out what had happened.
And are you sure that she told you that Rusty had been shot?
Yes, sir.
She immediately screaming to me that Rusty had been shot and she didn't know if he was dead or alive.
So many are asking, is the grieving widow on her way to becoming a criminal defendant?
It's clear to me that Andrea is covered in Rusty's blood.
Everybody was wondering, what's next with Andrea?
Dramatic closing arguments in the daycare murder trial.
Just what motivated Hemi Newman to kill a man outside of that Georgia daycare depends on who you believe.
The murder trial for Hemi Newman is moving fast.
The jury could have this case as early as tomorrow afternoon.
As prosecutors and defense lawyers begin final arguments in the case against Hemi Newman, the two sides have one thing in common. They're scathing accusations against Andrea Snyderman.
Both sides claimed that she was an evil woman who played a role in her husband's death.
Either the angel and the demon were talking to Hemi and telling Hemi to kill Rusty, or the demon that he was cheating with.
The gun, in this case, was in Hemi's hand. But the trigger, I respectfully suggest, was pulled by Andrea Snyderman.
You had the defense team saying that she knew full well that Hemi Newman had mental illness, and she was sort of pushing him to do this. Even if she didn't expressly say, go kill my husband, her actions led him to do that.
Adulterer, liar, and master manipulator.
They were laying it all at her feet.
Yes. Our theories were very, very close. They were saying she led him all the way up to it, but didn't necessarily plan it. And we were saying, yeah, she was the motive for it, but we believe she perhaps had something to do with it as well.
Hemi didn't hide his crime from Andrea because Andrea already knew.
As soon as this murder had taken place, she called Hemi Newman. She calls Hemi multiple times. On her way to the hospital, we thought that that was extremely odd behavior.
She told everybody that would listen that Rusty's been shot, but yet she wasn't told until she got to that hospital 2 hours later. The only way she would know that is if he told her.
Andrea says she called her boss for more innocent reasons, to tell him that something had happened to Rusty and that she'd left the office.
Rusty deserved to be treated with some respect and dignity. He did not deserve to be shot down in the street like some stray dog.
Robert James was forceful, he was loud, he would point.
This is what he did!
He was putting on a show, saying, no, he's lying about this mental illness. This was an affair. They both wanted him out of the picture.
They would have us believe that he's insane because he's having a good time at the club. And Andrea's doing this dance for him, and she's, and they're groping and they're grinding and they're getting it on and they're kissing and hugging. He's having an affair. He's about to go back to the room and do the horizontal mambo. What man in America wouldn't be like, whoa, I'm about to have sex? It's great. Of course he's having a good time. If that makes him insane, then half the men walking down the street are insane.
Nobody is insane that plans a murder this way in the cover-up.
He knew he was wrong, and that makes him guilty, that makes him guilty, that makes him guilty all day, every day, because he is sane and he knew the difference between right and wrong.
Any minute now, Judge Gregory Adams should bring the jury in for that verdict. There was never any question that he was going to be found guilty of something because he admitted to shooting Rusty Snyderman. The question was, would he be found guilty but mentally ill or not guilty by reason of insanity?
Would he be sentenced to prison or to a mental hospital?
Deputy Moore, bring in the jury.
After deliberating for 8 hours, the jury is back with a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant as to count 1, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
We were devastated because he still goes into the prison system instead of a mental hospital.
Just come up here, Mr. Newman.
He had not testified at trial, and I think he wanted to be heard.
Your Honor, I prepared this statement to express my sense of loss for the death of Rusty Snyderman. I'm so sorry for their loss.
He apologized to his own, family, his children.
It is also a tragedy for countless family and friends who saw a person they loved, admired, and respected, who saw him arrested and shamed.
He talked about himself.
It was sort of all about him. Kind of felt like, woe was me, I'm sorry I got caught.
Ultimately, the judge sentenced Hemi Newman to life without parole. Throughout this case, Rusty Snyderman's family, specifically his brother Steve, were at the forefront. He was kind of the family spokesperson, and he didn't mince his words.
It's clear to me that Andrea is covered in Rusty's blood and will have no peace until everyone involved in Rusty's death is held accountable for their actions.
Andrea Snyderman releases a statement saying she was, quote, grateful for and relieved by the verdict, and describing her husband as an amazing man.
Everybody was wondering, what's next with Andrea? She took the stand in that bombastic way. Everybody thought that she had something to do with this. The question was, would police and prosecutors go after her? And about 5 months later, we got our answer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jovita Moore.
I'm Justin Farmer, and officers arrested Andrea Snyderman today at her family's home in Putnam County.
As soon as that indictment came down, those marshals pulled Andrea Snyderman out of her parents' lake house and hauled her off to jail.
She is facing charges, including the murder of her husband, Rusty Snyderman.
In layman's terms, if you help, you can be charged like the person that did it.
After Andrea's arrest, the jury foreperson in Hemi Newman's trial speaks out.
She was very angry when she was on the stand, and I thought, there's something. She really is hiding something here.
We don't know how she's involved, but she's involved. And we need to know, how can we have any peace when we don't know the truth?
But what can the prosecution prove?
Lies throughout the investigation and throughout the trial.
Then a bombshell development in Andrea's case before her trial even begins.
When the indictment itself came out and charged Andrea with malice murder, a lot of people were surprised.
I always had empathy for her, but at the same time, there were all of these unanswered questions. And so, those unanswered questions you want answers to.
You hit her with an array of charges.
Correct. We charged her with murder, obstruction, false statements, perjury.
Are you thinking that you're going to be able to put her behind bars for possibly life as well?
Yeah. I have some very strong circumstantial evidence, right? She's calling the murderer, who she happens to be having an affair with, moments after she finds out that her husband is shot. And then the night before the murder, there was a search on the computer for death benefits. The question is, do we have enough evidence that we can go from she probably had something to do with it to she did have something to do with it?
Where is the evidence that she was a party to the murder of her husband? All you have is that she may have lied about having an affair. That doesn't mean she had anything to do with her husband being murdered.
Indictments are built on solid foundations of evidence, and this one will fall like a pillar of salt.
After 3 weeks in jail, Andrea Snyderman is released on bail and pleads not guilty to all charges.
Anything you want to say just about how much you're looking forward to seeing your children?
The judge put her under house arrest. She couldn't even take her children to school.
On the eve of her murder trial, nearly a year after she was arrested, Andrea Snyderman's in court when the DA drops a bombshell.
I'm standing before the court, standing before millions of people perhaps, asking for the court to dismiss the case right before trial.
Robert James, the DA, had to go in front of the judge and admit that he did not have enough evidence to proceed with a murder case against Andrea Snyderman.
I believe that it would be unjust and unethical to go forward on a charge that I am not 100% sure someone is guilty of.
That can't look good for your office, though.
Oh, it looked terrible.
How hard was that for you, and how often does that happen?
It doesn't happen very often. If you say that the prosecutor is a minister of justice, then you have to own that it's not what you know, quite frankly, it's what you can prove.
Murder charges against Andrea may have been dropped.
Mr. Deputy, bring in the jurors.
But in August of 2013, prosecutors moved forward with her other charges, including lying on the stand and hindering the investigation into her husband's murder.
Across the board, we believe that she lied to police and she lied on the stand.
She hid evidence and she concealed it. She remained silent. She didn't tell them that she was a willing participant with Hemi Newman in this relationship. The fact that she called Hemi and the fact that she texted Hemi, she hid from the police. She suspected him immediately, but she hid her suspicion.
Her husband wound up dead, not because of anything she did. She didn't hide it. She didn't conceal it. She didn't know about it in advance. She did not try to deny the relationship. She gave them his name, and she has cooperated time and time and time and time again.
Was there a concern that Hemi Newman might testify against her?
I kept thinking up to the day we were going to start trial that we would find out there's this new surprise witness, but that never happened.
I was hoping Hemi would point a finger at Andrea to lessen his sentence. He never considered that option. Hemi continued to express his love for her.
After 2 weeks of testimony and multiple witnesses,
Excuse me, Deputy Garrett, if you could bring in the jury, please.
the jury has a verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Andrea Snyderman, count 1, hindering the apprehension of a criminal, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty.
Ultimately, Andrea Snyderman is convicted of 9 out of 13 counts against her. Just 18 months after testifying at Hemi Newman's trial, Andrea Snyderman is right back in this courtroom, this time for her own sentencing. She tearfully denies ever having had an affair with her boss, asking the court for leniency.
Please let me go home to my kids. Mr. Newman changed my children's lives forever by killing their father. Please don't make them live without their mother. Thank you.
She blamed it on him, and she was the victim. She's not a victim.
Self-preservation is the only thing on her mind. She lied to her family. She lied to her friends. She lied to us. It was more important for this criminal to protect herself rather than find and convict her husband's killer. We urge you to keep the results of her conduct that led her to lie in the forefront of your deliberations.
The judge gave her 5 years in prison, and she's out in 10 months.
With credit for time served both in jail and under house arrest, Snyderman is released on parole. And just when everyone thought the final chapter in the saga had been written, a new twist sees a very different-looking Hemi Newman back in court. In 2015, nearly 5 years after Rusty Snyderman's murder, Hemi Newman's conviction is thrown out. The Georgia Supreme Court finding that there was a violation of attorney-client privilege related to some of Newman's mental health evaluations.
The prosecution had no right to subpoena experts that we hired that we did not intend to call as witnesses.
A DeKalb County judge set Hemi Newman's retrial.
This retrial is expected to last less than a month. Insanity is at the center of Newman's fate.
In court, the formerly clean-cut GE executive appears markedly different.
Hemi Newman became Orthodox. So when he showed up to court, he was donning the Orthodox beard, he was wearing a yarmulke.
Once again, Newman's defense is arguing that delusions drove him to kill Rusty Snyderman.
You will come to the right verdict, and that is that Hemi Newman is not guilty by reason of insanity.
The jury doesn't buy it, once again finding Newman guilty and sentencing him to life in prison without parole.
Hemi will never get out of prison. He's gonna live his life regretting his actions, regretting that he has no relationship with his own children, regretting that he lost everything.
As for Andrea Snyderman, she's out of prison and no longer has a criminal record, thanks to a Georgia law called the First Offender Act that focuses on nonviolent crimes.
Even though a jury has found her guilty, when a defendant is sentenced under the First Offender Act, as Andrea was, once you have completed the sentence, you have no record. Andrea Snyderman, wherever she is today, under Georgia law, is not a convicted criminal.
So she essentially is a woman who has a clean record.
Yes. Once you have served out your sentence, probation included, then your sins, your crimes are erased from the record. And she wasn't given special treatment. She just wasn't treated any worse than anyone else.
It was extremely tragic. There are crazy people out there, and Hemi Newman's one of them. And her path crossed with his, and she will regret it the rest of her life.
Rusty was a wonderful brother. He was a great father. Sophia and Ian adored their father, and they were the light of his life. Every single day of our lives, there will be a hole in our hearts and in our lives where Rusty should be.
The Snyderman family, they really just at the heart of all of it wanted this to be about Rusty and his life and his love for his kids. And I think that was the heartbreaking part of all of this, is that they were just wanting justice for Rusty.
In my dreams, he comes waltzing through the door, just like he always did.
We miss him. He was the light in our life.
He had so much more to offer the world. The world is so much poorer because he's not here.
So this case is such a mess that in the beginning, you don't even have a starting point. Except for Abraham Shakespeare winning the lottery.
As if you won $30 million. Do not show this to anybody.
But everybody's there saying, give me, let me have.
Women with car full of kids would pull up and say, oh, the Lord led me to you. And I would be like, no, that would be Google Maps, honey.
One of the things that people talk about when they talk about winning the lottery is that it's cursed.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person.
But then all of a sudden, things go silent. And nobody knows where Abraham Shakespeare is.
Hey, have you heard from Abe? No, I haven't heard from him. Have you seen him? No, I haven't seen him either.
A lot of people says, well, I think he took his money and wants to get away from all this.
So how many people in Polk County owed Abe Shakespeare money?
Over 20, maybe close to 40.
There are all these people with this web of connections to Abraham Shakespeare, and any one of them might be someone who has a motive to see him dead. We all dream of a moment in life that will instantly change everything. A stroke of luck, and nothing will ever be the same again. That's exactly what happened to a man with the name you will never forget, Abraham Shakespeare.
While Abraham Shakespeare was on a trucking route with his colleague, Michael Ford, they stopped at a convenience store.
Mike Ford, who's the driver, says, "You need anything?" Abraham, who's staying in the truck, says, "Yeah, you know, give me 2 quick picks."
Right here at this gas station in a town with a name you just can't make up, Frostproof, Florida. 1 stop, 2 quick pick lottery tickets, one of which would change his life forever. A jackpot worth $30 million.
Hello, Florida. It's Wednesday, November 15th, and here are tonight's winning numbers. 12.
When Abe realized he'd won the lottery, he wasn't even sure it was real. So he brought the ticket to his cousin, Ashley McMillan.
I looked up at him, and I looked at the ticket again, and I looked up at him. I said, you won $30 million. He said, okay, I just wasn't sure. I needed somebody I could trust to tell me that. And I was like, do not show this to anybody else. You go to Tallahassee and cash this in immediately.
News of Abe's win quickly spread across the state of Florida.
It was at this convenience store that Abraham Shakespeare bought the lotto ticket that changed his life.
A Lakeland man is waking up a millionaire this morning. 40-year-old Abraham Shakespeare. He had the winning numbers, and Mr. Shakespeare, I'd like to give you my phone number.
Yeah. He opted to take home the lump sum of $17 million. But then after taxes, he ended up with $12 million.
Still, you know, $12 million is a huge chunk of change for a man with a pretty humble background who came from the central Florida town of Lakeland.
Lakeland is small town feel with a little bit of city in it, beautiful lakes, areas are quiet, some parts are rural, and it's in between Orlando and Tampa.
And here in Lakeland, Abe lived in a modest neighborhood where many folks struggled to make ends meet.
This is the famous Abraham Shakespeare's ex-home, where he rented and lived.
This is where they lived before
This is where they lived before he won the lottery. It was set up just like this. Nothing's changed besides painting it.
Pretty modest place.
Pretty modest.
Abraham's life has been hardscrabble for its duration. Abraham dropped out of school. He had been in a little bit of trouble as a youth, nothing major, just little petty theft kind of things. And as he grows older, he takes on a series of odd jobs. Riding the garbage truck for the city of Lakeland, sweeping up in somebody's barber shop.
Abraham had a strong friendship with Greg Smith, who owned the barber shop.
He was working at my barber shop as a cleanup guy, sweeping up and mopping floors. He was a less fortunate person, so let him work, get paid, or buy him something to eat. Abraham was an easygoing person. He took life just as it came.
What kind of guy was he?
He was a humble guy. Humble, respectful. You know, he wasn't a hard ass. He was a good dude. He didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he didn't do dope. He was just trying to survive, trying to make it in the world as most people do, but without being in the limelight of problems and trouble.
Even though he didn't have a whole lot, he was very content.
Abraham has all of this money. He can move anywhere he wants to, but instead, he stays home. He stays in Lakeland.
I think to a lot of people's surprise, Abraham did not go buck wild, as they say, when he got his money. He didn't overindulge.
Abraham says, I want to buy a car. So off me and Abraham went to the car dealership. Abraham walks up on this particular car and he liked it. And I'm like, yeah, Abraham, that's nice, but you know, it's a used car. Used or whatever, it was a gem to him.
He said he would go to Denny's to eat breakfast. He bought a Rolex watch from a pawn shop.
He come to the shop every day, millionaire, come to the shop, sweep the floor.
Yes.
You better not drop a penny on the floor. First thing he gonna say, he gonna pick it up, he gonna say, pennies make dollars.
Abraham doesn't spend much money on himself, but the one thing that he really wants is a new house. So he buys a 5,000 square foot, $1 million mansion.
Prior to winning the lottery, he would walk around this exclusive neighborhood and he would dream about living in one of those homes. He was able to buy his dream home for $1 million in the gated community.
And Abe quickly opened his doors to friends and even strangers. And one of those strangers was Centuria Butler, who was at the time down on her luck when she met Abe at a party he threw at his new house.
At the end of the night, he was like, where are you going? I was like, I might be staying in my car tonight. He was like, well, you know, you can stay here until you get on your feet. He literally let me as a stranger move into his house.
A friendship blossomed. Centuria and Abe grew close, and eventually they welcomed a son named Jeremiah.
When the baby is out and they bring him over to the bed, Abraham with his long arms, he swoops in and he takes the baby right out of her hands. And he's holding him. And he's like, yeah, I got my snook and pookum.
But for Abe, it wasn't enough just to provide for his own family. Abe seemingly wanted to help everyone. And pretty soon, his generosity spread throughout Lakeland.
When Abraham won the lottery, all of Lakeland and Polk County won the lottery.
People did not hesitate to come to Abraham and say, you know, I need money for my mortgage. They're going to foreclose on my house. They're going to repossess my car. I've got to bury my mother. Everything you can think of that someone needed.
Now you're dealing with all kind of people you want to look out for and people you don't want to look out for, but everybody's there saying, give me, let me have.
Abraham wins this huge lottery, and then within a day, everyone wants a piece.
I couldn't even talk with him in 10 minutes. His phone was ringing. By the time he get off the phone with that one, another one would call him.
There were days that random women with a car full of kids would pull up and say, oh, the Lord led me to you. And I would be like, no, that would be Google Maps, honey.
It got tiresome to him. He got fed up with it a lot.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person, but got people coming up asking for money.
And Abe's fortunes might be about to take an even more serious turn for the worse.
His friend comes forward and says, hey, that's my ticket. All those multi-million dollars, they're mine.
Abraham Shakespeare was on the verge of losing his entire fortune.
When Abe Shakespeare moved into that gated community, he was stepping into his life of luxury as a recent lottery winner. But those gates still couldn't keep people out. Friends, neighbors, even strangers still visited, asking for a favor, a loan, or a handout.
I think it caused him more harm than good. I don't think he enjoyed that money.
It was like, I wish I didn't even have no money. He was dead serious.
There's something called the lottery curse. Lottery winners go bankrupt. They are killed, robbed, kidnapped, and scammed till the end of days.
Most people work and struggle to get millions. When it's handed to you, it's an easy come, easy go, and you're open game. And if you're not prepared for it, you're screwed with it.
Abe tried to manage that flood of requests, turning some of those handouts into loans, but this was far from a perfect system.
One of the things that Abraham did was he set up a business venture in which he became the Hood's bank.
But that also meant that he had to make arrangements with them for when they would pay back and how much they would pay back. This was becoming overwhelming.
Abe was giving out money faster than he could keep track of. And then things took an unexpected turn with that coworker on the trucking route, the guy who bought the winning lottery ticket for him, Mike Ford.
Suddenly, there's a lawsuit against Abraham filed by Mike Ford, who is claiming that Abraham stole the tickets.
I was able to immediately get in contact with him. He was upset because he thought that Michael Ford was a friend.
To defend himself, Abe brought in a high-profile attorney named Willie Gary.
Willie Gary is a force, very self-confident. Willie has a private jet. He drives around in Rolls Royces. He wears, of course, custom-made suits.
Please be seated, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Ford's claim was that Abraham had gone into his wallet, had taken the lottery ticket. Abraham denies that he ever stole that ticket. In response to the lawsuit, Abe alleged it was never about a stolen ticket. It was about a demand for $1 million. Abe's claim was that Mike basically went to him saying, hey, I want $1 million. And Abraham said, I'm not giving you any money. And that's when Mike said, well, I'm going to sue you. Ford has a different account. He says that when he asked Abraham about the ticket, Abe offered him $1 million, but later refused to pay, saying Ford couldn't prove the ticket was his.
Ford versus Shakespeare was a 5-day trial. Michael Ford did his best to present his case, but the jury only took an hour to find against him.
It was a battle over millions in that courthouse, but in the end, he got to keep all of his money. And then he met someone. He met someone who promised to help him, who promised to protect his fortune, to secure his future. Was Abe's luck finally turning around?
A woman named Doris Moore, they called her Dee Dee, Florida born, very ambitious, pretty smart. She comes along.
In fall of 2008, Dee Dee goes to this small business conference where she meets the realtor who sold Abraham his $1 million mansion.
And she thought it would be cool to write a book about his life.
Dee Dee is introduced to Abraham, and he agrees to let her profile him.
She wanted to sit down and interview us for her book.
Dee Dee Moore seemed like she was a very professional woman. She was in a suit and heels and hose and everything, and said that she owned a company, American Medical Professionals.
Dee Dee Moore is a self-made businesswoman, a very successful businesswoman with a medical staffing company.
And the more time Dee Dee spent around Abe, the more involved she became, not just as an author, but also as an advisor.
She learns that he has all this money out there in the community. She said, you need a financial advisor, you need some financial help. I am an expert at that. The next thing you know, Dee Dee is Abraham Shakespeare's sidekick and his emissary who goes around to collect money.
She had her own money. She didn't need his money. And that became a trust factor for him.
He's like, she has her own business. She, know how to run things. She gonna help me with my LLCs.
Dee Dee wasn't just helping Abe with his money. She also started recording their conversations, capturing these behind-the-scene moments where, even with her help, he still appeared to be fed up.
Do you get tired of people asking you for money all the time, Abe? Give me your opinion on it.
I've been tired. A year ago.
All of a sudden, things go silent and nobody knows where Abraham Shakespeare is.
None of his children had heard from him. His mother hadn't heard from him. Nobody had heard from him.
And just like that, Abraham Shakespeare disappeared. No calls, no goodbyes, not a word to the people he loved. It was like he vanished into thin air. Abraham Shakespeare seems determined to shake that lottery curse, especially after his generosity cost him almost all of his jackpot millions. Now he's fighting to get his finances back under control.
Everything was well, and then it got quiet all of a sudden.
In April of 2009, there's a stir going on in the community about nobody having seen Abraham Shakespeare in a while. A little buzz at first, and then it gets louder and louder and louder and becomes a thing.
People start to talk, hey, have you heard from Abe? No, I haven't heard from him. Have you seen him? No, I haven't seen him either. And that kind of started to snowball when everybody started to realize, you know, I haven't heard from him either.
And so at what point did you notice that Abe might have gone missing?
When I would call, he would always answer me or respond back. And when I didn't get that, then it began to make, somewhat of a red flag.
There was this widespread speculation around Lakeland that Abe finally just got fed up with all these people thinking that he should share his fortune with everyone. And as a result, he decided to skip town.
It was common knowledge that Abraham said that he got tired of people asking him for money.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person.
When nobody's seen him, for the first couple months, we were like, okay, you know, he did say that he was gonna go away for a while and just let things, you know, kind of die down and chill, and then he was gonna come back.
And friends say Abe had a very good reason not to skip town for good. Even though Abe and Centauria at this point were no longer living together, Centauria says Abe was still a devoted father to their son, Jeremiah.
He was just like so excited about being a father, and he would take a picture every day.
Finally, in November of 2009, almost 6 months since Abe disappeared, Abe's cousin, Cedric Edom, decides to file a missing persons report at the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Abraham's cousin, Cedric Edom, reported him missing to our missing persons unit, and that's where the whole investigation started.
But the investigation gets off to a slow start. Lots of people are still convinced that there's an innocent explanation for Abe's disappearance.
A lot of people said, well, I don't think he's missing. I think he took his money and wants to get away from all this.
One of Abe's friends, Judy Hagens, even told the police Abe had mentioned leaving the country.
Did he ever discuss any intricate plans with you that, hey, I'm going to disappear and nobody's ever going to see me again?
Yeah,
and
he did.
What was that about? Tell me.
He really wanted to move to Jamaica.
Still, there was an aspect of Abe's disappearance that puzzled some of his friends and family members. All of a sudden, they started receiving these random text messages from him.
All of these people that Abraham would normally just pick up a phone and talk to or stop by to see were getting text messages.
So at this point, there are a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork who are saying that they've heard from Abe.
Right.
I got a text at one point.
And what did that text say?
He was out and just didn't want to be bothered.
And the mother of his child?
Centauria, she received a text message saying he was going on vacation and leaving her for another woman.
I'm texting Abraham, and I'm getting texts back, oh, I'm leaving you for this woman, and we're going to the Bahamas.
I got a reply from his number. And the reply was, I don't need nobody filing no missing persons report on me. I'm fine.
But Ashley and others close to Abe say they had some serious doubts about whether he was actually the person sending those texts, even though they were coming from his phone.
I knew that wasn't my cousin. This is not Abraham texting me.
There's no way that he could have constructed those text messages because Abraham Shakespeare could barely read and write. In fact, his cousin, Ashley McMillan, used to read him the greeting cards here at this Walgreens where she used to work.
Before he won the lottery, he was always buying Hallmark cards. He was like, hey, can you come read this card to me? I need something that conveys like empathy or sympathy. I asked him one time, I was like, why can't you just read the card? And he looked at me dead square in the face and was like, I cannot read.
It was so suspicious as people were getting text messages because he couldn't read or write. And if it wasn't Abraham, who were the text messages coming from?
That was one of the biggest hurdles we had in the beginning of the case, was nailing down when the last time not only was Abraham seen, but when someone physically and actually talked to him on the phone.
So this case is such a mess that in the beginning, you don't even have a starting point.
Every time we would talk to someone, they had heard something different. It just seemed like every story was leading back to Dee Dee Moore. And so we're just like, okay, we've got to talk to Dee Dee Moore, because this lady Dee Dee is associated to every story that we're being told.
For Abe's friends and family, it makes sense that if anyone knows where he is, it would be Dee Dee. I mean, after all, she has been working closely with him to get his finances in order.
As their friendship began to blossom, Abraham and Dee Dee Moore hung out quite a bit. She became a major asset to him by helping Abraham collect on money that was owed to him.
Everybody was very uncertain. Dee Dee had an answer.
When police interviewed Dee Dee about Abraham's whereabouts, she says nothing's wrong. In fact, I'm in constant contact with him.
Her statement was that she talks to him all the time. If we wanted to see him, she would make sure that she brought him to us. So she sends him a text message in front of us and it's like, Abraham, call me, please call me. We wait a little bit and nothing. And she's like, well, I'll call you in the morning as soon as we hear from him. We'll set up a meeting. So we left.
Although Dee Dee can't actually connect police with Abe on the phone, she is able to show them that video that she'd taken of Abe where he says he wants to skip town.
So where do you want to go to?
It don't matter to me. I'm not a picky person.
Are you going to miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
Weeks go by and there's no word from him, and suspicion begins to mount. But then this startling development. Out of the blue, Abe's mother, Elizabeth Walker, is having dinner at a Cracker Barrel and
Elizabeth's phone rings. And she opens her phone and sees it's Abraham calling. And she said, oh my God, it's Abraham.
Abraham Shakespeare is reported missing on November 9th. Most of his friends and family say they have not seen him or heard his voice since April. Is there a chance at this point in the investigation that Abe Shakespeare might just turn up somewhere?
I think we thought that was a real true possibility. Once we put him in the national database as missing, we got calls from all over the United States, and some of them with super confidence that it was Abraham. It wasn't him, but we had to deal with a lot of that.
With all of these empty leads, investigators are now looking at other angles.
So there's a whole pool of potential individuals that you could look at with some sort of motive if his disappearance did, result in foul play.
We certainly hope Abraham's alive and well, and he has successfully hidden himself away. But our investigation doesn't lead us to believe that at this time.
At this point, detectives are not only concerned that lottery winner Abe Shakespeare might be missing, they're concerned he might be dead. So how many people in Polk County owed Abe Shakespeare money?
Over 20, maybe close to 40.
And so some of them would probably not be so upset if he never appeared again.
That was the problem, is that there was a lot of people that owed him money,
But investigators aren't particularly interested in a man who had claimed that Abe owed him something.
Presiding, please be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you have a cell phone.
Michael Ford lost a lawsuit to him, claimed the winning lottery ticket was his, went all the way to a trial. He's probably pissed off.
$30 million of upset.
Michael, we're up here talking to you about Abraham Shakespeare. How do you know that name?
Because I went to trial with him for a lotto ticket.
Okay.
And at no time did you see Abraham Shakespeare while you were in Florida? And just for the record, you didn't in any way harm, hurt, or cause Mr. Shakespeare to be missing at this time, did you?
No, sir.
We actually pulled his phone records to confirm that where he was, and he was in Georgia. I mean, we looked at him that hard, but it was more of an elimination thing.
Well, detectives have a long list of possible suspects to go through. Marissa Green at the Ledger in Lakeland is focused on one person, Dee Dee Moore.
I felt like I had a vested interest in finding Abraham Shakespeare, just like the detectives. A couple of weeks before it was officially announced that Abraham Shakespeare was missing, I met Dee Dee Moore over the phone for the first time. She promised that she could produce him and I could interview him, but that never happened, and it went silent. And so that's when my red flag started to raise about this woman and who she was.
Then in December 2009, Marissa is able to convince Dee Dee to come down to the Ledger newsroom for an interview with her and her editor, Lyle McBride. Dee Dee tells them that at the time Abe disappeared, most of his lottery jackpot was long gone.
And he didn't have any money left, really.
Right, except for what he was collecting, the regular little loans, the few that were paying him back. That's what he was living off of, because everything else was froze. Because all his other money was tied up.
She said everybody else was taking advantage of him, but not her, because she had her own money.
That's the kind of person I am. If you've asked my family and my friends, I've been that way my whole life. I always helped people.
During that 3-hour interview, Dee Dee now tells a different story. Now, she insists that Abe left town to avoid having to pay money in the child support fight he is supposedly having with the mother of his son, Centoria Butler.
And so he was very upset and adamant that he would rather spend 179 days in prison, if they find him, than to pay her anything.
There was never a plan to go to court to get child support. I never attempted to go to court to get child support. That was the end of the story.
So during the interview, we played good cop, bad cop, and I was the bad cop. I was the one asking the hard questions of Dee Dee Moore.
Where is Abraham? Well, Abraham knows he was supposed to go for contempt of child support, okay? Well, and that's the question I asked. Where is Abraham? I do not know. And I told the cops this. I do not know his address. I didn't want to know because of the fact that we knew he would have a warrant out for his arrest.
That interview with Dee Dee Moore at the Ledger, it ends without any new information regarding Abe's whereabouts. But then a month and a half after he was reported missing, there's a surprising turn of events involving Abe's mother, Elizabeth Walker.
Dee Dee befriended her. And they're having dinner together one night. The phone rings, and it's Abraham. Hi, Mom, I love you. Oh, baby, I miss you. Where are you? I can't hear you. It's so loud. I can't really hear you, but I'll be home soon. I love you. I love you too. And that's the end of the call. Dee Dee says, oh my God, he called you. See, he's okay. And Miss Walker appears to be relieved, but not quite sure, because Abraham sounded different.
Abe's mom is suspicious.
She was suspicious, didn't think it sounded like her son, but in the back of her mind, maybe he really does have a cold, maybe he's really sick.
Turns out the police are able to trace that phone call, and it leads them not to Abraham Shakespeare, alive and well, but to a very different person.
We had that 30-day location tracker on the phone, so we pulled it up, and it's at the Lakeland Mall.
Will that phone call help cops unravel the mystery of what really happened to Abe Shakespeare? Three weeks after Abe Shakespeare's disappearance is reported to police, the full attention of investigators is now on Dee Dee Moore. She was supposed to have been his financial savior, but they've discovered that she has taken over his lottery fortune. What did you see when you looked into his finances?
Abraham didn't have access to a penny of his money. Dee Dee had not only taken over all of his banking accounts, she had transferred money out of the banking accounts.
Dee Dee tells Abraham that for his benefit, he needs to sign over his assets, and so that she can have control of those assets. That's the way she can protect him from anybody coming after him for any money.
She was now living in his house. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what would make her want to live in this man's house?
Once we were going deep into the investigation, we tried to find out everything we could about Dee Dee, and we found out, you know, she wasn't who she portrayed herself to be.
Dee Dee Moore's got a checkered past. She's been in trouble with the law before. She's no angel.
After graduating from Plant City High School in Florida, Dee Dee was eventually able to start up that medical staffing company. But she had her share of run-ins with the law, a no-contest plea for petty theft in 1999, and a guilty plea for check fraud back in 2002. There was also one incident where she falsely claimed she was carjacked after falling behind on her vehicle payments.
So she drives the SUV down a dark country road one night, and two Latino men, this is her story, hijack her SUV, tie her up, rape her, beat her, and throw her on the side of the road, and take off with the SUV. Long story short, she had hired these guys to take the car and hide the vehicle from everybody.
Dee Dee was convicted of insurance fraud. And that background raises a lot of eyebrows among detectives investigating Abe Shakespeare's disappearance.
She definitely has the ability to manipulate, to lie, to concoct stories and so forth, yeah.
We were really convinced that Dee Dee definitely had more information, and we wanted to push some buttons with Dee Dee.
So police pressed Dee Dee for answers about how she's taken over Abe's finances.
You are in essence Abraham, correct?
Yes.
But my point in all of this is all of these people plus all of the real estate comes up to how much?
But you've got to...
No, comes up to how much, Dee Dee? Comes up to how much? So, okay, so I've done the rough math, okay? It comes up to almost $3.5 million.
Okay, if I'm guilty of anything, I'm guilty of helping him avoid child support.
I'm not worried about any of that.
Investigators may have their suspicions about Dee Dee, but what they don't have is any hard evidence tying her to Abe's disappearance. Meanwhile, Dee Dee turns to the media to plead her side of the story.
Because of these people.
Are you talking about your meeting with the cops?
Yeah, because of these people, my life has been turned up in the last 2 weeks. All my house has been looked over twice. They've looked through all my papers. They took my computers and downloaded their hard drive. I want this out of my life. And I feel sorry for Abraham. But it has hardened my heart. I don't know if I'll ever help anybody out anymore.
Then 8.5 months after Abe's disappearance and just a couple of days after Christmas, there's a development that sends this case in a dramatic new direction.
The thing that really turns the case was when Elizabeth Walker got that call from her long missing son. Dee Dee Moore was at dinner with Elizabeth Walker when Abraham called.
Abraham's mother called me, and she's like, Detective Clark, Abraham called me and told me Merry Christmas and that he's okay, but she said, it didn't really sound like my son. And I said, what number did that call come from? And she's like, it said private.
It didn't take long for them to look at phone records.
Investigators quickly learned two very critical pieces of information. First, that number is not Abraham Shakespeare's. Second, someone with that phone itself is located very close by, a local mall. So they rush to that local mall to figure out who it is. And incredibly, at almost the same moment they drive in, so does Dee Dee Moore.
And then in drives Dee Dee. It's like a gift from God dropped to us. Crazy. We watch her get out, meet with this guy, hand him a wad of cash.
And this was just, you know, stinking the high heavens.
They talk for a minute, she gets in her car, and she drives away to the north, and this car with this gentleman in it drives away to the south. So we get behind the car, we're following it, and we're like, let's stop it. We go to stop the car. So I just jump out, I go to the guy and I go, you can either park your car, get in our car and come with us, or we're gonna try to put you in prison the rest of your life. And he goes, well, I guess I'm coming with you.
The man in the car, the man who got the cash from Dee Dee and who owns the phone that made the call to Abe's mom, he is none other than the friend of Abe's who ran the local barber shop, Greg Smith.
Do you know Dee Dee Moore? That's what they asked me. Now I'm thinking to myself, Lord Jesus, what is going on? You know, did you make a phone call to Abraham's mother? I said, yeah. Well, I make the phone call to his mother, pertaining to be Abraham. I'm supposed to mimic his voice and the way he talked best I can to tell his mom that I'm okay.
Said she's gonna pay me $350. I didn't feel right about it, but I thought I was helping Miss Walker feel better because she's been worried about her son. Greg told them then, I think that Abraham is dead. They said, we think so too. And they said, you know, we need you to keep meeting with Dee Dee because we think she has something to do with this. And we need you to work for us.
And I'm thinking to myself, man, when I needed this man stepped in and helped me.
And the reality of what's at stake sinks in for Greg Smith.
The light click on, okay. She actually is under investigation for killing Abraham Shakespeare. I was like, you know, I'll do what I can.
And so begins an elaborate plot to take down Dee Dee Moore and prove her involvement in Abraham Shakespeare's disappearance. Now, this is going to involve not only an undercover sting, a can of Red Bull, but also a discovery made right in this yard. For Abraham Shakespeare, the good news is you've won the lottery. That's also the bad news.
As of this time, we don't know the whereabouts of Abraham Shakespeare.
Detectives are not only concerned that Abe Shakespeare might be missing, they're concerned he might be dead.
We've got to talk to Dee Dee Moore because everybody is bringing her name up. Whatever story they had, everything just kept circling back.
They're saying that I took a gun and killed another human being.
What they need the evidence.
But I guarantee you, Ronald has killed him.
We're like, Ronald? We've never heard of a Ronald.
She kept saying, Ronald killed him. Ronald shot him.
Why are you laughing?
Because
a man is dead. He's been murdered.
I liked Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. There are so many things that proves my innocence.
Do you understand how listening to you is bewildering?
Well, do you understand how listening to you is just, it sounds like a bunch of stupidity?
Hello, Florida. It's Wednesday, November 15th. And here are tonight's winning numbers.
Abraham Shakespeare won $31 million in the Florida lottery, going from rags to riches.
But as happens to so many lottery winners, Abe is besieged by people asking him for some of that cash.
I really would like my old life back where I could walk the streets like a normal person, but got people coming up asking for money.
Everybody feels that's their opportunity to get paid.
But then he suddenly disappears.
But no one has seen Shakespeare, including his mother, who's beginning to think the lotto prize may have been a curse.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to hear something.
There is contact. Family and friends receive text messages from Abraham. In fact, his own mother gets a phone call from Abraham.
I answered the phone. I said, hello?
Upon further investigation, detectives learned that the voice was Greg Smith, the owner of the barbershop where Abraham would work.
I was like, Mom, how you doing? This Abraham.
Greg claims he faked that call at the request of a woman named Dee Dee Moore, who was helping Abe with his finances, and the police start investigating her.
Despite running a legitimate business, Dee Dee Moore has a checkered past. She's been in trouble with the law before.
Greg decides he does not want to go to jail, so he helps investigators with their case. And one way that he does it is by becoming a confidential informant.
I didn't set a plan out to go catch her. I just told him I'd see what I could do.
I'm getting ready to talk to Dee Dee. She's getting in the car now.
When I interviewed Greg Smith back in 2012, he showed me how he secretly recorded conversations with her using something he called a catch can, which he invented himself.
It's a Red Bull can.
Look at that thing. I wouldn't figure out how it opens even.
It actually separates in between.
Oh yeah? Wow. That's brilliant.
That's the Dee Dee Moore catch can.
I worked undercover narcotics for 8 years, and I wouldn't have came up with this. Almost all of the meetings were in a car. Here it is sitting in front of her. She doesn't even know it's there.
Well, they'll never know about you anyway. I never give you up. You know what I'm saying?
Ever.
Man, listen, I'm so deep in it with you right now. If you go down, I go down right now.
Yeah.
It was ingenious, but he even took it a step further. He would be smoking small cigars as they talked. So that she wouldn't get suspicious, he would make it a point to flick ashes on or into the can as they were talking.
Pretty simple trick, but it worked good, and it gave us a good recording of the car.
I just need some time to get freaking Abraham back.
Dee Dee is recorded telling Greg that Abe is alive. After she had asked Greg to make that fake call to Abe's mom, Dee Dee now asks him to call someone else to continue spreading the news that Abe is okay.
Should I say that he talked to his mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's gonna make him more convincing.
But he told her if she tells anybody, he'll never call back. Okay. You make sure you say that.
That sounds a little bit more convincing.
Say that if she tells anybody, Abraham told her he would never call back.
What's up, Dee Dee?
Greg later reports back to her that the call went well.
So you tell him, yeah, he's still living?
I said, yeah, he's still living. I said, if anybody want to know if he's still living, yeah, he's still living.
At one point, the investigation moves to a local hotel where Dee Dee Moore and Greg Smith meet.
So Dee Dee and Greg go to the hotel to follow up that fake phone call with a fake letter?
Yes, they did.
These rooms is expensive.
We're listening as they're in the hotel.
That's not the same laptop you had, is it? You went and bought that today?
Here comes a brand new laptop and a brand new printer. But she is very paranoid now about leaving any traces that can be taken back to her.
So she's dressed in full hospital gown, gloves, face mask, hair, so that while she's typing, that none of her DNA gets on the paper or gets on the envelope or anything.
She is determined. You will not find any Dee Dee Moore DNA here.
Chocolate, I don't want you to show this letter to the cops. I just want you to tell them that it was me.
They spent about 2 hours composing this letter to Abe's mother, with Greg offering suggestions to Dee Dee about how Abe would actually talk.
And we're down there laughing because Greg's like, no, maybe you should say bro instead of brother.
If I had to take this letter here, and I had to read this letter, and I had to understand this letter, the letter is convincing to me. It couldn't have came from you.
How do you do it to anybody, but how do you do it to a 70-plus-year-old woman who hasn't seen her son in months? I mean, devious, manipulative, evil.
He puts it in the mailbox, he leaves, I take the letter out of the mailbox and put it in evidence.
Remember, those close to Abe knew that he could barely read or write. I mean, this is a copy of the letter.
Yeah.
And for a guy who, even though his name was Shakespeare, I mean,
right.
He didn't write. This is like
Did not.
6 or 7 pages.
Exactly.
I only wrote you just in case you really worried, just in case you can't keep this to yourself and you're really worried about me. Here's a Christmas present to you.
The letter is more like a treatise about everything that Abraham would be trying to explain to his mother about why he went away and what hassle he went through once he got all the money, and how sometimes he wishes he didn't have all this money, but that he's doing okay and he's trying to stay away and get his life together. I mean, it went on and on and on for pages.
But what Dee Dee Moore does next will remove all doubt Abraham Shakespeare is not okay at all.
With a body, I can do a plea deal with him.
What do you want?
50 grand.
If you do this, you're going to be a very popular person. You're going to be a legend.
By this point, all of the law enforcement officers' instincts are firing on code red. They feel that Dee Dee Moore knew what happened to Abraham Shakespeare. What they need the evidence.
So at one point, you ask the sheriff to hold a press conference.
As of this time, we don't know the whereabouts of Abraham Shakespeare.
And at that point, the sheriff says, hey, we think that Abe Shakespeare may have been met with foul play.
We suspect that he's met an untimely death.
He also names Dee Dee Moore as a person of interest.
I must tell you, folks, that certainly it is fair to call Dee Dee Moore a person of interest.
After that press conference, I believe she felt the walls closing in on her.
So immediately she calls Greg Smith. We've got to do something. Did you see what Sheriff Judd's saying about me?
And that's when the next phase of the case begins, convincing Dee Dee that if Abe is actually dead, to admit what really happened.
They come up with this idea that they will get a fall guy who will say, you know, I'll take the blame and say that I killed Abraham Shakespeare.
We call a guy named Mike Smith. I mean, he's just a very large, intimidating fella, and one of the best undercover guys I've ever worked with.
And his last name happened to be Smith, the same as Greg Smith, and they pretended to be cousins.
So we tell Greg, we just want you to tell her that you have a cousin that's going to prison. If there happens to be something wrong with Abe, I bet for the right amount of money, he'll take a murder rap.
And I said, I know somebody. I got a cousin finna do 25 years that'll take that rap. Yeah, I got somebody.
Here's the deal. I went and talked to him. He said, okay, I'll do this.
When can I talk to him?
She reacted way more than we expected. She immediately says, I want to meet him. I want to meet him as soon as possible.
So soon after, they arrange a face-to-face meeting in another parking lot in Lakeland.
I pulled in right about this area here.
Okay.
And parked. She comes over, he jumps in the back seat, she jumps in the front.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, this is my baby right here. You gotta take care of her, buddy.
He introduces us. We talk, small talk, briefly for a couple minutes.
Who does she think that you are at this point?
At that point, Greg had sold a story to her that I was a drug dealer. I was just a drug dealer. She knew I was just drug dealer. They got busted by the feds that was going away, that was willing to take the rap.
Yeah, I'm in over my head. I've never been through nothing like this in my life.
The meeting is taking place in a undercover vehicle that we had equipped with listening devices and recording devices.
And what was Dee Dee's demeanor like in the car? Was she twitchy? Do you think
she was all chipper, just normal. I believe the question was, why would you take the rap?
Why would you do that, though, for me?
I'm going anyhow. I'm going anyhow.
Well, I can tell you, if you do this, you're going to be a very popular person. You're gonna be a legend, and probably on the Oprah show.
When I told her, I said, I got busted by the feds, man. I'm gonna go do 25 years. I need the money to leave to my baby mama so she can take care of my child.
What do you want?
50 grand.
Okay. Can I do it in payments? Because I don't have that kind of cash. I'm gonna have to sell something.
I'm gonna need 10 up front. Once I do this, make sure my boy get the money.
Okay.
But that's not enough. You feel like you need more out of her.
I felt like I needed more out of her. I felt like we needed a body. Like I said, I'm gonna need a body. Probably can get a plea deal with them, because they definitely gonna want a body.
Okay.
And then Mike tells her, wherever the body is, I want to move it, because if I'm going to confess to this, I'm going to make it my own. And she brings up, there's a guy named Ronald, a drug dealer.
If you take the rap, he is not going to show up. And I guarantee you, Ronald has killed him. I just know it.
We're like, Ronald? We've never heard of a Ronald.
And Ronald's the one he owed the money to?
Yeah, they were doing a drug deal. No, I think Ronald killed him for the money Abraham had on him. Abraham had a ton of cash on him, like the tune of $800,000.
This is a huge development. Whoever Ronald is, Dee Dee has just admitted for the first time that she knows that Abe is dead.
That's the biggest moment of the case. That's where we know 100% he's dead. I mean, for us, couldn't have been a bigger moment than that right there.
She kept saying Ronald killed him. Ronald shot him. I said, well, where's the body, Dee Dee? You get with Ronald, ask him, Ronald can tell us body at. That way when I plea deal with, I can tell them the body is right here and they will dig him up.
Okay.
And they'll have a body.
Okay.
Get with Ronald, find we need to know.
Okay.
I'll back up my boy.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
It was nice meeting you.
The next morning, Dee Dee calls Greg and says, we need to meet and make it quick.
Dee Dee wants Mike Smith to be able to confess as soon as possible so that the investigators will stop looking at her.
I don't think that they're watching all the properties and all the friends' properties I have.
He goes and meets Dee Dee, and Dee Dee hands him a towel. There's something wrapped in the towel, and she tells him, this is the gun that was used to kill Abraham.
We're gonna grind then we put his handprints on it, and we'll put it somewhere.
So she handed over her gun to you.
Exactly.
She trusted you that much that she handed you the murder weapon.
Exactly.
She asked him to meet him back at the same spot later in the night. She would show him exactly where the body was.
This is the perfect time.
Plant City.
We'll call me in Plant City.
Yeah.
All right.
We set it up for her to take me to the body now.
Just like I figured, the body's still on that property. We're moving the body tonight.
Dee Dee thinks that once Greg and his cousin dig up the body, she's going to be home free. But she has no idea what is actually about to happen next. Not long after Dee Dee meets with the man who she believes will take the rap for killing Abe Shakespeare, she's driving along this road with Greg Smith, heading to a property she owns on the outskirts of Lakeland.
So Highway 60, it's considered a rural area of Hillsborough County. There's a lot of tomato fields, strawberry farms, and so forth.
You feel like you're in the country. Dee Dee's property has two ranch-style houses that are several yards apart.
They parked over at this house. We're just kind of on the side of the road with our lights off. She walks Greg right here. There was a 30-foot by 30-foot concrete slab.
Concrete slab in the middle of a field.
Yeah. And she takes a piece of angle iron and sticks it in the corner of the slab and sticks it down in there and says, dig. Abraham's body's right there.
It's right there. It'll be 9 foot. It'll be 9 foot deep.
And you're listening to this. You guys must be just going nuts at this point.
I think once we heard that, we both look at each other and go, wow, let's just hope this isn't another Dee Dee spin or scam on things.
We didn't know if we actually had the body down there or not.
As authorities begin this arduous work to uncover what's below ground, they simultaneously set up their next tactic for Dee Dee. A few hours later, investigators have Greg call her again. He says, there's a big problem. When we went to dig up the body, the place was swarming with cops. Dee Dee's response? Meet me at the mall.
Greg and Dee Dee then meet when all of a sudden, boom, the cops pull up. They jump out and they bust Greg.
I'm sure she's thinking that we're arresting Greg for the murder of Abraham. So she's composed and says she wants to come back and talk to us and let us know some things.
Okay, so you get her in here. That's you.
That's me.
Okay, who is this guy?
Gregory Smith.
Gregory Smith.
That's who I know him as.
Okay.
Abraham introduced me to him.
She first says, hey, I'm glad y'all got that guy, Greg. I think that he's done something to Abraham.
Find out what he knows, because he knows where Abraham's at.
And so I let her go on for a few minutes, and I said, look, Dee Dee, I got some bad news for you.
I think you know where I'm going with this, Dee Dee. The gig is up. Okay? The gig is up. Listen, everything that you've told him, everything you've done, everything is recorded, Dee Dee. Everything is recorded.
Finally, you see her demeanor change. She rests her head on her hand.
We talk to him 10 times a day. We know every move you make. We know everything.
Dee Dee Moore is caught pretty much red-handed.
I want a deal, and I won't give you the person's name.
Dee Dee at various times blamed everybody under the sun for killing Abraham.
He gave me the name of the person that did it.
And here she goes into the whole Ronald, some random drug dealing guy.
I honestly don't know the guy's name. I know him by Ronald.
So it's Greg Smith, it's Ronald, it's Mike Smith, the undercover.
The undercover, it's her son, it's Cedric Edom.
Everybody else.
Crazy, crazy.
Police say there is zero evidence that any of those people were actually involved.
Dee Dee, you've said so many things you can't even keep your head straight.
Okay, well,
listen. Who shot Abraham?
You know who.
No. Who shot Abraham?
You know who shot him.
Authorities allow her to leave because without a body, they didn't have a case to arrest her.
Meantime, back at Dee Dee's property in Plant City, a team has assembled to attempt to find the evidence they need to actually arrest her.
We're talking probably 30, maybe 40 folks. This is definitely not a run-of-the-mill scene. The concrete slab was like a 900 square foot tombstone.
We've got a 30 by 30, 9-inch thick concrete slab that we've got to bust up.
On day one, there was nothing found. They kept digging and digging.
This is a painstaking task. This is 2 inches at a time, sifting through everything.
This was almost an archaeological dig here.
It was. I mean, every quadrant, everything, just so we didn't miss anything.
And at a point, once we hit about 9 feet, we started to uncover what appeared to be human remains.
You were able to look at this corpse, and you knew it was Abraham.
You didn't need DNA?
I didn't need fingerprints. I didn't need DNA. I mean, of course we did that, but I looked, and there's Abraham.
Investigators from Polk and Hillsborough counties announced a discovery tonight.
We have recovered human remains.
The media was doing a stakeout to try to get reaction from Dee Dee. And she drives by in a truck, rolls her window down,
I'm only coming out because the media will not leave.
And it develops into kind of an impromptu news conference.
They're saying that I took a gun, put it up, and killed another human being, and I would never, ever do that.
But the very next day...
Hey, Dee Dee, they're calling you a murderer. Are you a murderer? No.
Doris Dee Dee Moore denied any involvement in Abraham Shakespeare's murder as she was led into a deputy's car tonight.
It was shocking. Here's someone who was supposed to be helping this guy with his money, and now she's the one charged with his murder.
By the time we presented to the grand jury, she had provided the murder weapon, the body's behind one of her houses.
It's at about $1 million.
Dee Dee Moore was indicted for first-degree murder, premeditated murder of Abraham Shakespeare.
Dee Dee pleads not guilty, and when her trial starts...
As the now dark-tressed and dressed in yellow defendant took copious notes, lawyers from both sides made their opening arguments to the jury of 8 men and 4 women.
There's one big question. Will a jury believe her defense that she was actually a victim herself of the person she claims killed Abe? Six years after Abraham Shakespeare won the Florida lottery, 3.5 years after he disappeared, the murder trial of Dee Dee Moore is set to begin in this courthouse in Tampa.
State of Florida versus Doris Donegan Moore.
This has been a full day packed with the opening statements this morning and then the testimony this afternoon in what promises to be a full of drama trial.
The public's interest in this case was incredible.
Prosecutors claim Dee Dee Moore swindled
Journalists are always looking for something that is unprecedented.
Of Dee Dee's diabolical scheme to steal from, then kill lotto winner Abraham Shakespeare.
Or unusual, conflict, scandal. And this had pretty much all of the elements.
Had an anaphylactic shock.
Of course, Dee Dee's behavior in the courtroom also helped keep the story going.
Another day, another outburst.
We're not going to go back and forth. You need to compose yourself.
The prosecution is out to convince the jury that Dee Dee meticulously planned Abe's murder.
She conducted a sophisticated campaign to conceal his death by making up stories, by sending text messages.
It don't matter.
Prosecutors show the jury video that Dee Dee took of Abraham in the mansion, and it's really the last piece of video of Abraham alive.
Are you gonna miss your home?
Yep, I miss it, but life goes on.
She's setting up her alibi. She was setting up her story. She knew that Abraham was confronting her about the lack of funds and the ability to access his money and so forth. And it came to a point where in Dee Dee's mind, she's gonna have to do something about this.
Prosecutors believe right after that recording, Dee Dee and Abe traveled to her home in rural Plant City, Florida. And it's there that prosecutors say she shoots him and leaves him until the next day.
The body's on property she owns. The murder happened in her house and with her gun. She admitted she bought the lime that was poured over the body of Abraham Shakespeare.
Prosecutors show video in court of Dee Dee going to Walmart to buy cleaning supplies.
She was purchasing bleach and like latex gloves and I think some shovels to help Mike Smith and Greg Smith dig this body out by hand and dispose of it.
Although Dee Dee has never faced formal charges alleging she stole Abe's money, prosecutors say it was greed that motivated her to kill him.
Centuria is Abraham's former girlfriend, and she tells jurors that Dee Dee told her that she was plotting to take his money.
She made it sound like she wanted to clean him out
Why do you say that?
because she wanted to know about all of his assets, and she was like, I can help you clean him out.
It was just a level of disgust to just know that this is what such a caring and giving person endured.
But the prosecutor's star witness is Greg Smith, who takes the stand to deliver some of the most compelling and devastating testimony at the trial so far.
Greg Smith had been recruited by the sheriff's detectives to become her confidant, and the courtroom was just spellbound by his testimony.
I'm grown and don't have to come back.
When Greg Smith read the letter that Dee Dee Moore had composed in the motel room, jurors were on the edge of their seat.
I've been through a lot, Mom. You know it. You should understand more than anyone. I just need time.
The prosecution also asks Greg Smith about that supposed drug dealer who Dee Dee claimed was the one who actually murdered Abe.
I honestly don't know the guy's name. I know him by Ronald.
Did Miss Moore address who to blame if you got caught?
Yes, she was addressing the guy Ronald, the imaginary character that she made up.
Ronald is nothing but a fictional character, a character that she created out of her imagination.
The defense, such as it was primarily based on that old premise that the state's case was all circumstantial, that there was no hard evidence, there were no eyewitnesses.
The burden of proof is on the state. It's a very high burden of proof beyond any reasonable doubt.
Dee Dee's lawyer tells the jury there's plenty of reasonable doubt here and that there could be many other possible suspects.
That the drug dealers or killers saw fit to threaten her to keep her mouth shut, or else they would harm her and her son.
The defense argues that Greg Smith could actually have been the mastermind in Abe's murder.
If you study those tapes, most of the ideas about the fall guy, about where's the body, we've got to find the body, we've got to dig up the body and move it, all those things, if you read or listen to those tapes, it is Mr. Smith making those suggestions.
Gregory Smith has never been a suspect in this murder.
But Dee Dee's attorney insists she is innocent, that she's a victim, in fact, powerless against the deadly whims of others.
This is a desperate, panicked, perhaps emotionally unstable woman trying desperately to find an explanation that can salvage her life and her son's.
By the end of their case, the defense called 0 witnesses, and Dee Dee herself never testified on her behalf.
Tonight, after just 3 hours of deliberation, a jury handed down their verdict.
But no matter what the jury decides about her fate,
Bring the jury in.
Dee Dee's about to tell us exactly what she thinks about it.
But they didn't get to hear my side. They didn't get to see my evidence. They didn't get to hear my witnesses.
Why didn't you take the stand then? After almost 2 weeks of this roller coaster murder trial, it's now up to the jury to decide Dee Dee's fate.
Bring the jury in. Tonight, after just 3 hours of deliberation, a jury handed down their verdict.
Juries do unpredictable things at times.
Is that indeed the jury's verdict?
It was probably 7 o'clock at night. A storm was coming in. Right as they read guilty on the first count,
The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
a clap of lightning happens outside and just kind of lights up the courtroom. It was kind of like, yeah, it was wild.
Abraham Shakespeare was your prey and your victim. Money was the root of the evil that you brought to Abraham.
The judge made a brief statement about how heinous her crime was and that he would be sentencing her to life in a Florida state prison without the possibility of parole.
I felt like he did get justice because even though his life was cut short, her life is just going to be long and miserable.
I won't forgive her. I don't forgive, and I never will.
Convicted murderers rarely talk while they still have appeals left, but then again, Dee Dee Moore is no ordinary murderer.
I'm not nervous. I don't get nervous.
Hi. After Dee Dee was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2012, 2020 was granted an exclusive interview with Dee Dee here in her cell block's cafeteria. Upon arrival, we quickly learned that Dee Dee wasn't exactly camera shy.
Yeah, I've been on TV before.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah. You're a pro.
Let me show you this.
And this is fan mail. This is people...
I have more than fan mail. I have a movie producer doing a big TV screen production of my case.
Despite that jury taking less than 3 hours to convict her, Dee Dee vehemently maintains her innocence.
I think people are complete idiots that think I had anything to do with it. I really do.
When the guilty verdict was read, what went through your mind?
They murdered me by the hands of justice. I'm murdered. You might as well kill me, because this is no type of living in here. Because I would never harm another human being. I would never hurt nobody. I liked Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and Disney. I like Tinkerbell and kind things. I'm not a mean person.
After a 2-week trial filled with damning audio and video evidence, I wondered if Dee Dee might finally come clean about what really happened to Abraham Shakespeare. Did you murder Abraham Shakespeare?
Absolutely not.
Did you bury him in your backyard?
Absolutely not.
Why are you laughing?
Because...
A man is dead. He's been murdered,
yes,
clearly.
Yes.
And you're laughing.
Yeah. Because I find it entertaining that people are that ignorant. Because there are so many things that proves my innocence.
You ended up in his house with all the rest of his money. Then he ended up dead in your property.
Okay. But
shot by your gun. You don't find any of that unusual or odd?
Absolutely not, considering the people he hung around. I only knew this man for 4 months, and I'm just gonna, oh my goodness, I met this man, and you know what? I'm gonna plot a murder in 4 months.
Do you understand how listening to you is bewildering?
Well, do you understand how listening to you is just, it sounds like a bunch of stupidity?
So if Dee Dee's claims are so convincing, why didn't the jury buy it? Well, she blames it all on her own attorney.
About me. I personally would have convicted myself for what they got to hear, but they didn't get to hear my side. They didn't get to see my evidence. They didn't get to hear my witnesses.
Why didn't you take the stand then?
Because my
you had
lawyers,
every opportunity to defend yourself.
I wanted my witnesses to take the stand, for me to take the stand. My lawyer says we didn't need it.
Your lawyer was that convinced you were going to win?
Yes.
But Dee Dee's lawyer, Byron Heilman, said the decision not to testify was Dee Dee's, and Dee Dee's alone.
We discussed with Ms. Moore whether she wished to testify. That discussion had gone on for quite some time, and she made the decision not to do that.
But since she claims her case was not properly presented in court, Dee Dee tries with us. People were trying to frame you.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because, first of all, I was an easy target.
A target, she claims, for drug dealers. Remember the story about Ronald, that so-called drug kingpin? Dee Dee claims the gang he allegedly had was out to kill her.
They were gonna take my son and kill him and chop him up and put him on my doorstep.
Who?
These guys that the sheriff's department says didn't exist, that we have witnesses that they do exist.
You give so many different versions that it's absolutely bewildering.
On
Why
purpose.
is that?
I'm threatened. They're making.
So you're lying to the police because you feel threatened?
No, I'm being told to do that. I'm being told to just keep throwing them off
by
Ronald.
Dee Dee claims she has witnesses who will back up her version of events, but she wasn't eager to share those names with us. Can we talk to your witnesses? Who are they? Do you mind if we take down their names and maybe contact them?
I'd have to ask my lawyer, but I don't know if they'll...
These witnesses don't exist, and that certainly looks like your handwriting.
What do you mean?
That looks like your handwriting. What you said were witnesses' notes looks like your handwriting.
No,
I don't think that these witnesses exist. If not, why won't we know? So, Dee Dee says since she's appealing her conviction, she can't actually talk about them. And with that, our interview is over.
Robert, we need to go ahead and take her now.
Okay, thank you. Well, it was nice meeting you.
You too. Dee Dee may not have been willing to share her evidence of supposed witnesses with us, but she's going to get a chance to present her claims in court.
Is going to be back in court today. Dee Dee Moore will try to convince a judge to give her a retrial.
Will it be enough to get her murder conviction overturned? After years of filing motions to appeal her conviction, in July of 2023, Dee Dee finally gets another day in court.
Dee Dee Moore is back in a Tampa courtroom demanding a new trial.
Dee Dee tells the judge that she was framed by investigators who were paid off by those drug dealers that she alleged were doing business with Abraham Shakespeare.
They're being paid under the table because cocaine dealers can afford a lot.
The investigators denied Dee Dee's allegations.
I have never heard of anything of this corrupt drug network involving Abraham Shakespeare or corruption within either of our departments.
It's absurd. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
The judge denied Dee Dee's request for a new trial. But that wasn't the last time we heard from Dee Dee. More than 12 years after we first talked in Florida, we spoke to Dee Dee again on a call for prison. Tell me, how are you?
I'm fine. I've been working on my case and I've got my appeals out, so I'm waiting patiently.
How long have you been incarcerated in jail and in prison at this point?
14 years.
You still do not admit that you murdered Abe Shakespeare?
Absolutely not, I didn't.
14 years is a lot of time to think. Do you ever go back and think about Abe, about Abraham Shakespeare?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was wrong. There was no reason for him to pass away over money. But for them to lie in public and say that it took his money, the whole situation was so stupid.
You murdered him and you've taken zero responsibility. And you're saying, like, in past tense, that it's so sad he had to pass away. Abraham Shakespeare did not pass away. Abraham Shakespeare was shot at close range.
Everything they said in jury trials was not true.
I thought that you might,
Remorse?
more than a decade after our interview, have some remorse, some reflection about what had happened. That maybe there was a little bit of softness in your heart about Abraham and about your responsibility here.
There is plenty of softness in my heart.
She is still as adamant as she ever was that she was framed, that Abraham Shakespeare was murdered by someone else. She denies taking Abe's money. She denies doing anything wrong. Abraham Shakespeare not only lost his fortune and his life, he lost the chance to see his children grow up.
Everyone, thank you for coming to
The funeral was very emotional. It was a celebration of his life, but it was also very sad to learn that he was killed for his money. Was just something that everybody could not understand.
He was a kind-hearted person who genuinely wanted to help people. He helped tons of people in this city. He kept people from going into foreclosure. He paid light bills, phone bills. He honestly did that.
Imagine just spending your last $4, which is what Abraham Shakespeare did on those lottery tickets, putting your last money on a far-fetched dream. Abraham did a lot of good with some of his winnings. The favor wasn't returned to him.
He was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He will be sorely missed.
I'll never forget, after they found him, I remember having a dream. And I remember in the dream telling Abraham, oh good, you can come with me now. And he kept saying, no, you'll be okay. That was enough for me to believe that I'll be okay. I really miss him today. I really just need to hear his voice today. I just want him, like, bring him back.